All right. Thank you, everyone. Super excited that y'all here. So great to see a full room. Love when we have opportunities for our community to be engaged and involved and to come and let us know what they think. So since we have a very packed agenda this evening, we're going to go ahead and get started and so we can get into the main part of the meeting. So what we're going to do first is we're going to have introductions from here from the District Advisory Board. So if everyone will let the community members know your name, your neighborhood, and then what's your favorite thing about Wichita, with no repeats.
Start over here this time.
Okay, we'll start with Corey.
My name is Corey Buckton. I'm the Community Services Representative for District 2, which means I work with Councilmember Tuttle at City Hall. And my favorite thing about Wichita is bike share.
There you go. There went somebody else.
I had to take it easy.
I'm Sam Lindeman. I live in Bonnie Bray, right straight east of Town East. And my favorite thing about Wichita, this sounds corny, is just the people here. I've traveled the United States, and we are blessed with the best people here in Wichita.
Nazir Jasri on East Kellogg, and I like that Kellogg is underway ahead of schedule. I'm liking that.
Good.
Keith Lane, Sierra Hills. I like the outdoor entertainments, the golf courses, the bike paths, all of that type of activity. That's me.
Nick Howell, Savannah, 13th and 143rd East. I like that my family's here. I'll just do that one again.
I'm Becky Tuttle. I'm City Council member representing District 2, and I'm going to go with the Nifty Nut House. Trying to suck up.
Good evening, Alicia Sanchez, Sycamore Village, 22nd and Rock. My favorite thing I would say are the abundance of parks that we have in the community.
I'm David Babish, and I live in Willow Bend, and I was shopping for carpet at Star Lumber. I went there 60 miles an hour.
Whoa.
That's good.
Locals in the house.
No, it's all legal. Great road.
I'm Tracy Adams, and I live in the Park Place edition of Harrison Park. And my favorite part about Wichita is that Wichita is a very clean city.
I'm Jeanette Everett. I represent the waterfront, and I think my favorite part are the restaurants and bars, particularly Greystone.
My name is Dee Neislonger, and I live in Whispering Lakes Estates, which is between Perry and Pawnee, as close to the Butler County side as you can be. And the thing I like about Wichita is the opportunities for community engagement.
Tell your name, where you live, and your favorite thing about Wichita.
Joe Getz. I live in the Whitetail edition. What she said.
All right.
I came back.
Okay, no problem. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you all the District Advisory Board members for being here. We're missing one person tonight, so we do have a quorum. We received the agenda packet Friday from Corey, so thanks for sending everything out, Corey. First thing we need to do is approve the agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve. Okay, second? Second. All those in favor, aye? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Next thing also is the minutes from April 8th of 2019. So if you were in attendance for that meeting, I would entertain a motion. So moved.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed? Anyone abstain? Okay. Got it, Corey? Fantastic. First thing is scheduled items. So we have Kim Neufeld representing Tobacco Free Wichita Coalition, who's going to talk to us about tobacco-free parks and trails. And Kim, you can come to the podium. Okay. You can go wherever you prefer. And we're going to set the timer for 5 minutes, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
I'll try. I do have handouts in case anybody. There you go. Interested?
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you for letting me come. My name is Kim Neufeld. I am a member of the Tobacco Free Wichita Coalition. If you're unaware of the coalition, we've been around since 1970, and we have been working with the city and county to adopt healthy policies and have youth prevention activities to try to end the addiction to tobacco products. And that is what we're really hoping to do with this next generation. So we are super excited. We have been working with the city staff and with residents for about 2.5 years now on a tobacco-free parks ordinance. This is pretty common in larger cities and is actually becoming quite common around Kansas. There's 33 municipalities currently that already have tobacco-free parks ordinances or resolutions. So what this ordinance is it basically would prohibit tobacco products, including the e-cigarettes, from all city-owned parks and trails, not including golf courses because they have their own maintenance and regulation. And primarily this is to help keep and maintain cleaner parks, promote wellness, reduce exposure to tobacco products, which the Surgeon General has made clear that there's no safe level of secondhand smoke, even in outdoor areas. If you can smell it, you're being subjected to those toxic chemicals. But like we said, primarily this is to protect our youth and to encourage new social norms so they're not seeing people utilize tobacco in our parks. It's just as the alcohol ordinance. So it'd be exactly the same. The police would enforce it the same. It's not that we're asking the police to sit out in the parks and catch people. It's the same as alcohol for the policy. There's, like I mentioned, quite a few municipalities who have done this, including Minnesota, which Chief Ramsey was there when that ordinance was enacted and he said there was absolutely no problems. I mentioned we've been working with city staff, so WPD, the fire department, and Park and Rec are all supportive of this ordinance. Let's see. One reason that we're really here tonight, though, is the tobacco litter cleanups. We wanted to just do environmental scans to see what our parks currently look like in Wichita where it comes to tobacco litter. And so the Mayor's Youth Council and some of our youth members went out and they do environmental scans at the parks. They rope off about 25 feet from the playgrounds, and then they place an orange flag wherever there is a cigarette butt or tobacco litter, and then they clean up the litter so that we're leaving the parks nice and clean. And they've done every district, and as you can see, tobacco litter is actually the #1 most littered item here in Wichita, same as it is across the U.S. So it definitely is an issue. They were just at the Sleepy Hollow Park, which is right by the Ronald McDonald House, and they found 1,000 pieces of tobacco litter in 1 hour this last weekend, and all around the playground. So this is toxic litter. Oh, thank you. The chemicals do seep into the sand and the play areas, and so we're really mostly concerned about the little kiddos and then the pets, birds, fish that happen to ingest these toxic litter. So that is primarily the ordinance. Like I mentioned, it would just be enforced as the alcohol and other park regulations, primarily with education and signage is the way that we would educate the community. So wanted to bring it here. It is going before the Park Board, Advisory Board, and then hopefully the City Council for approval. Can I just open it up to see if anyone has any questions about the ordinance?
Just one question regarding the Mayor's Youth Council.
Yes.
What's the age again?
They're from high schools all across the city. And in fact, every high school across the city is represented, I believe, on Mayor's Youth Council.
And these are the ones that are actually going out to put the flags out.
They are. They go out on Saturdays and they go and do environmental scans and then they clean up the park at the same time.
So one of the questions you had on there was if you see someone smoking, you kind of ask them about it. Are the kids approaching these people?
No, we don't encourage them to, but they have a couple times. They've asked if someone was using tobacco, they've asked them, but really we haven't seen anybody actually smoking in the parks when the kids have been there. We go pretty early Saturday morning and the parks are pretty quiet at that time, but we do, if the community sees somebody and they feel comfortable, then they could definitely let them know there's an ordinance. If not, it could be handled by the umpires, staff at the parks, or police. Usually only if someone's resisting though. I mean, the police aren't, like I said, we're not asking the police to go out and arrest people.
All right, thank you,
Thank you
Kim.
so
We
much.
appreciate your work. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll go to off agenda items, and so if anyone in the community is here this evening who wants to make comments that are not agenda item related, you sure can. We just ask that you make sure that you come up front and you state your name and your address so that Corey can get it in the minutes. So please make sure you state your name and your address. So ma'am, I think you had a couple comments you wanted to make, and we will set the timer for 5 minutes. And if you don't want to stand behind it, you don't have to. You can
Okay.
stand wherever you want.
If there's no mic, I have a loud mouth anyway. So, I want to thank you for allowing me to come to talk to you. I'm known
Your
as
name and
Stevens.
address. Your name and address.
I'm known as Stevens. I live at 145 North, 127th Street East. I'm at the corner of Douglas and 127th Street. I have 15 acres that lays in there, and I've lived there for 50 years and used to be in the county. When I was in the county, they mowed the strip of land next to the road all the time. I got used to it. And now that we're divided right down the middle of Douglas. On the south side of Douglas is the county. On the north side of Douglas is the city. The county mows that area between the road and the next fence. We have no sidewalks. Next fence. And they do a beautiful job. But from that middle of that road coming south, coming north is my area, and we look awful. They don't mow it at all. Well, we have put in a sewer system on the east side since that happened. And there is a part of that sewer system that sticks up. There's a bridge that goes through there. It isn't a sidewalk area, but it doesn't get mowed. So when I complain about it, they let me do the mowing. It's really city property without, now where I live, I face off of 127th Street. We mow clear to the road. But I see that as, I need help on it. I see that as an area where, in fact, when I call the street department, they don't know, they don't have any jurisdiction. They can't help you. They just go by whatever they're told to do. Now, the part that is along there, it used to be a long time ago, people thought they could throw trash out there also. But now there is a community that has been built across the street from me. It's going to be a community of probably 1,000 people who live in there. They want that kept up. They want my side kept up too. Those people who are going to rent in there are not going to like it if they see tall grass growing along the ditch on that one side. So what I'm asking for is some help.
Sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you this piece of paper. Will you write down your name and your phone number and then give it to either Corey or me, and we'll follow up with you tomorrow?
I will certainly
Is
do
that
that.
okay? Here you go. Would you hand it back?
Ma'am, do they acknowledge that as being in the city?
I do.
Okay.
Here's a-
Does that work for you right now?
We'll find out. I'll follow up. That may be CD. Thank you, ma'am, for your comments. We appreciate it.
Thank you for
No,
listening.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. All right. Any updates, issues, or reports from the DAB members? Seeing none, we're going to go into it. So we're going to go to staff reports. If we can have fire department. And you don't have to use the podium if you don't want to. Whatever works for you.
I'll lean on it. How's that?
Well, how
My name's Randy Scott. I'm a captain on the Wichita Fire Department. I'm your captain here at Station 9, just south of Whistle. I act in the capacity as a battalion chief when our regular assigned battalion chief has a day off. We're quite hard. So we've had our normal number of alarms, normal medical calls. We've also had our normal amount of fires. We've had several fires in some fourplexes, 2 of which are still under an investigation. Fortunately, there was no injuries. There was minor injuries, no significant injuries to report to those. While I'm here, I want to pass on some safety notes to you. Quick reminder, Change the batteries in your smoke detectors, please. It does make a huge difference for us and you. Also, another tidbit is to close your door when you go to bed at night. Just simply closing your bedroom door will significantly increase your chance of survival as far as breathing in smoke and being exposed to heat and flames. So if you can remember that tidbit as well, close your door. Please practice with your children. How many of you guys have kids? Yes. Please practice with your children by sounding the smoke detector once so they can identify the sound. And two, how to get out of bed and how to get out, ideally through the front door. Normal passive egress if you can to start with. And then work on going out the window in secondary. And most importantly, have a meeting place pre-designated outside your home. So that way, when you get out, you know your children, you know where they are if you're not able to get them yourself. With that, those are my safety points. Any questions for the Wichita Fire Department? I may or may not be able to answer, but I can get you an answer if I can.
Any questions from the district advisory board members? I just want to make a quick comment.
Sure.
Sheriff Captain, not the Saturday before, all the elected officials in Sedgwick County were invited to do Fire Ops 101. And so we got there at the fire training center at 7:30 on Saturday morning. And one of the first things we did is we had to put on fire equipment. And it took me 25 minutes to get it on. We could do it in 45 seconds every time. And it weighs 70 pounds. So the equipment, the tank, they put the tank on me and I leaned backwards and they had to prop me back up. But we actually went into a burning building and had to put it out. We learned CPR and first aid. We had to use the jaws of life. And we also went into a building that was completely smoked out and had to find the bodies that they had hidden. And so always had a great deal of respect for fire and police, but now even more. So when you see their trucks and you know they're out on call, know that they're doing really great work to make our community safe. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you. That's very nice.
You're great. Appreciate it. Thanks for your report.
Good.
Community police. No police? They're out doing what they need to do.
I thought they were leaving.
I know. They ran out. Alan, Park and Rec.
Alan Tabor, Department of Park and Recreation. I am supervisor over here at Edgewater. I have brought the activity guides for you on the table. Feel free to pick one up. Also, because we're so close, I brought Edgewater classes and activities for the summer. As you can imagine, this is our busy time of the year. We're getting ready for camp. Hello. All the summer camps, all the freshman camps. So if you want to keep active, if you want to keep your families active, please pick these up and look through them. It's not just Edgewater, it's all the rec centers, Watson Park, it's Riverside Tennis Center, it's the golf courses, it's all in there. So help yourself though. If you need more, I took some over from the library, I think they'll have some more there too. Any questions for me? I've missed y'all.
We missed you too.
Yeah, the knee has been replaced. I'm good for another 40 years, right?
Awesome.
400,000 miles.
We're glad you're back. Thank you for all you do. Savannah, library.
Hello, I'm the branch manager of the Rockwell branch here. I just wanted to talk real quick about we're gearing up for our summer reading program. This year's theme is the universe of stories. We have a program for 3 different age ranges: baby bookworms, kids read, and teens read. Each program you receive prizes based on the number of days that you've read for 20 minutes or more. We give away all sorts of good coupons. Baby bookworms, they do some early literacy activities to earn prizes. And then we also have a ton of programs going on throughout the whole city. Here at Rockwell in June, we'll have the Wichita Griots, who will be sharing music, song, drums, and African American folk tales on June 5th. Children will have a chance to attend a math science celebration of the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11 moon landing on June 27th. And children ages 8 to 11 will use materials that we'll provide to design some type of structure to protect their falling eggs at our egg drop lab on June 18th. And we hope to be dropping the eggs from higher up with help from the forestry department. Any questions for me?
Thank you, Sabrina. Thank you, and thank you for sharing your space. And I think we're gonna be here late tonight, so we'll lock it up.
Is it cool?
It feels good. All right, so I would entertain a motion to receive and file staff reports. Okay, I think I got D and Nazir in a second. All right, you got that, Corey?
Yep.
Fantastic. Now we'll go on to new business. So one of the things, I'll kind of set it up for you, Corey, while you're finishing up there, and then you can start. The city council and the city manager and 2 assistant city managers had a budget retreat last week to start preparing budget for 2020. And one of the things that we learned about was a brand new budget simulator tool. And we actually did a press conference today so that people can learn more about it. All the information's on the website, but Corey's going to give us a quick demonstration of this amazing tool. It's really awesome and will allow the community to have better understanding of the budget process and what we go through at the city, and then also how we can get more community involvement. So Corey, you want to give us a demonstration?
Yeah, I'm going to start with the disclaimer that I'm pinch hitting for the budget team. So any budget related questions I will not be able to answer.
This is just the tool.
This is just the tool. So you can find the tool at wichita.budgetsimulator.com, and it's on those small square pieces of paper on the back of the table. It's also going to be posted on all the city's social media sites if you haven't already seen it. But this is what the website looks like, and we're going to watch a quick tutorial video about it. Can everyone see the screen okay?
Yes.
Ready to try out the City of Wichita Budget Simulator? Here's how it works. First, you'll be asked to fill in some information about your property value to estimate your property tax bill. As you make budget choices, you'll be able to see how those decisions impact your property tax bill. Don't own a home? No problem. You can use the average appraised property value for a single-family home. Next, you'll see a series of budget topics. Each one will have a brief description. Use the slider bar under each one to indicate your funding preferences. Let us know how you would spend the money. Want to make a reduction? Slide to the left. Want to increase services? Slide to the right. You'll also have the opportunity to give us your comments and ideas at the end. This will help us understand what's important to you. When you're finished, you'll be asked to submit your version of the proposed city budget. But don't stop there. Make sure to check back later to see a recap of the community's submitted budgets. We also want to encourage you to participate in the social media town hall meeting in June and the public budget hearings when the City Council considers the 2020-2021 proposed budget in July and August. Make sure to save these dates on your calendar. Again, your feedback is valuable to city staff and the Wichita City Council. Thank you for taking time to participate in the budget process. We look forward to seeing your budgets.
You can access the actual simulator from the same website by just clicking Get Started, and that will bring up the simulator that you do online. So they covered a lot of important things in that video, but here's a breakdown of the calendar. So the simulator went live today, and it will close in about a month on June 15th. 2 weeks after that, they're going to compile the information that was gathered from the budgets that you all would submit and have a town hall meeting where they take this non-scientific data and use it to answer questions on a social media town hall. Then on the 23rd, the city manager will present the budget at a city council meeting. There will be a public hearing on the 6th, and then city council will decide what to do with the budget on the 13th. So those last 3 dates are all city council meetings. So this is intended to be a property tax simulator, which is why you would put in a property tax value. You can put in your own value, or as it says, you can use the estimated average value. And the idea is that as you move those sliders, it'll tell you by adjusting that value, that amount, this will be the approximate effect on your own property taxes. What that number will tell you is how it affects the city's general fund. So there are some very specifics about the budget that I can't get into, but those are the basics of it. And maybe if you have questions, Councilmember Tuttle can answer those things. So it's easy to use on a computer, phone, or tablet, which is why they chose this particular program, because it was so accessible. Also, any of the neighborhood resource centers and libraries, people will be ready to help you if you want to do it there. We don't ask or mandate that you give personally identifying information. The only thing that we require is a zip code, just so we know if someone happens to stumble onto this website that doesn't live in Wichita, we know to not include that data. You have the option to include some very basic and general demographic information if you choose to, but it's not mandatory. Once you do this, we're asking that you get people involved, share it on your social media sites, encourage other people to do this. The more data that we have to go on, the better, the more engagement there is, and the better the social media town hall will be as well. This says that the thing takes about 10 minutes, the simulator takes about 10 minutes. You can obviously spend a lot more time in there playing with it, or you can breeze through it in less time than that. But again, that is the website down at the bottom. It's also on the square piece of paper on the back. Like I said before, after June 15th, we're going to compile that information and use that to inform the social media town hall. We're going to see what trends emerge, what people are tending to add more money to, or taking it, what they're taking it from. Questions and comments about the simulator? First from the dad. Yes.
So I heard you say that the information will be aggregated and it will be used to inform the town hall meeting. Will it be used to inform anything else after that?
You mean, are they basing the budget off of these simulations?
Well, are they gonna, what's aggregate, so are they gonna dictate, are they gonna inform any of the decisions?
Well, first, we want to emphasize that this data that they're collecting is non-scientific data.
Right.
And they're basically using that to get people engaged to see how the process works. When you slide something to increase the budget for that item, it will give a description of how that line item changes, basically. So, for example, on one of them, you increase it by 10%, it could say, this allows us to hire another staff member in this area to do this job. Do not consider this to be a vote towards increasing the budget for that area. It's not, it's like I think like the presentation points out, it's really just meant to inform the town hall. And at this point, as far as I know, nothing else.
It's also, I think, a really unique way for the city, for our community to understand that if they want, let's say, more police, then they increase police services by 5 or 10%. It shows how much your property tax goes up every year. So how much you personally are paying in your own treasure if you wanted to see that happen. So, and the other way, if you want to have lower taxes, what you would have to lose to be able to have that happen. So it also has the personal component that I think people would really like.
At the end of the day, the people compiling this data will see the trends. I can't tell you what they're going to do with that, but they will see the trends.
And this is a pilot, so first we've never tried it. Great question.
Questions from the community? Yes.
When's the fiscal year for the city start?
January 1. We're on a calendar fiscal year. January 1.
The calendar development.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I just want to say, I think this is a great idea to teach people about what goes into budgets, how their compromises have to be made. And I think there's a lot of this.
I can tell you that I played with some other models that they were looking at using, and some of those were really challenging because they challenge you to create a balanced budget starting from a deficit or things like that. So yeah, it really is informing to see how those changes affect not only your pocketbook, but what happens with the city and what they're able to do with that fund. So.
Thanks, Corey. Great job. Okay, while Corey is getting back to his place, we will go a little slow. So we need to receive and file. So I'd entertain a motion. Thank you, Tracy. Anyone second?
Second.
Thank you, Nick. You got it, Corey? All right. Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Fantastic. We're going to go on to next new business item, and we have Philip here with us to talk about zoning case.
Would you prefer me to be at the podium or address?
Wherever you want to be, Philip. Yep, you're tall, so you can do either.
Well, I'm
This is
also
the
going to
tallest
speak to
podium
the
ever.
back. I do not have a presentation, but this way I'm at least addressing the audience.
Yep,
Yeah, I've got two cases to present tonight. You all of the board should have a staff report from both of them, or at least a short excerpt from them on the agenda. The first tonight is zoning case 2019-13, which is a rezone request located between Greenwich and 127th Street East, just south of Central. It's on Jackson Heights Street. The property is about 9.63 acres. It's currently zoned single family SF5. The applicant is looking to rezone it to TF3, which is 2-family, with the intended use of constructing duplexes in the area. They submitted a preliminary site plan, I believe that was included in the staff report as one of the attachments, with the intention of having 27 lots, which would equate to 54 dwelling units if each one of those was a duplex. The preliminary site plan also showed in the northeast corner a retention pond, most likely going to be used to manage stormwater of the area with increased runoff that development would cause, as well as a contingent street dedication to 2nd Street on the west side of the property where it currently dead ends. And forgive me, I forgot what street is to the west of Jackson Heights, but it would allow for connection to West 2nd or East 2nd Street, as well as another entrance into the area. The current site has a single-family home. The majority of the lot is undeveloped. Staff is recommending approval of this project primarily because with the community investments plan, which is a long-range planning document that the city uses, that area is indicated for new residential. This is a really good opportunity and a really good example of infill development, which means we're not spreading further out. We're actually building within our current city limits. In the area, there is recent development, which is increasing the density out there. Currently, the lots range from about 1 acre to 5 acres, so large lot, single-family homes out there. To the south and east, there is a recent duplex development as of 2005. And to the north, there's been a small office park with some patio home development, as well as a new single-family home development on kind of your typical suburban-sized lot. So already showing some increased densities going on in the area, and that's just kind of the trend in the area. So with that, I can stand for any questions you have for staff.
So what we're going to do, just a friendly reminder for the district advisory board members and our community members who are joining us today. First, we'll have questions from the board. If anybody has questions for Philip, great job, Philip. Thanks for framing it up for us. And then if we have questions or anyone in the community who wants to talk about or wants to make statements or ask questions, we'll do that. And each community member who wants to speak on an agenda item will be 3 minutes. And then we'll bring it back to the board, and then we'll hopefully have a motion and a vote. So let's start with the board. Anybody have any questions for Philip? Yes.
I drove by here this weekend. Two questions. Where would be the main traffic flow into this area?
I believe from Jackson Heights Street. But like I said, according to the preliminary site plan, they are looking to have a dedication into 2nd Street, so not all of the traffic would be coming on Jackson Heights. There would be the opportunity for people to enter the area from 2nd Street as well.
That was one of my big issues. Second thing, I know we've talked about this before. I didn't see a zoning sign out there. Is that?
So this case, it may not be up just yet. They're only required 14 days prior to the planning commission meeting.
When is that meeting?
That one is scheduled here. Let me look at the top for May 23rd. So it should be up there very soon. I can get with the applicant and make sure one is put up. We're kind of in between where we're really early with a DAB meeting. But if we wait until after the planning commission meeting, it would fall outside of the protest petition timeframe since you guys meet on the 2nd week. So we kind of hurried up to get it here, so it was more.
Well, I know
legal.
that's been an issue because we haven't seen a lot of the signs, and
Well,
I know
that's good for me to know. Let me follow up with the application.
Because I think that's important for people around. That's the only way they're going to know about it.
Well, we do send out. Part of the application includes they have to submit a ownership list. I believe something like this would be anywhere from 200 to 350 feet surrounding the area, and all property owners within that radius get a
letter
Yeah.
physically mailed to them. But you're correct, that development application sign needs to be put up on the property.
But
So-
even on this one, you're gonna be drawing traffic. There's other people that need to know that's gonna be in there.
Correct.
Yeah.
I will follow up with the applicant tomorrow
Thank
and
you.
make sure that that sign gets up.
Thanks, Sam. Any other questions?
Yes, sir.
I'd say the thing you said, I don't have a problem with the development at all. But the traffic flow is there's a lot of unpaved roads in there.
Small streets.
Roads that were once paved that are hardly ready for additional traffic. You can't get down to Kellogg on 127th. You've got that very large apartment complex within on the east side of 127th. I just think kind of bring it to the attention of traffic people that some improvements need to be made here.
Yeah, that's definitely not a two-way street even.
No, Jackson Heights, I think the right of way, the total right of way is 40 feet and the paved is anywhere from 15 to 20. So it's more of a single lane road right now.
It's a nice area to go out and view wild turkeys.
I actually saw some when I was going out and taking
Oh, there's
pictures.
tons of them out
I
there.
saw 4 of them across the street.
All right, anything else, David?
Yes, sir.
Well, this is more of a planning issue, but last week was the same deal where they have these dead end cul-de-sacs. And I understand we're not into planning, but I'm always concerned if emergency equipment can turn around.
Through the plating process, they go through that with the emergency services. And as long as, especially since they're actual cul-de-sac and not hammerheads, which means they're just squared, the design parameter is always built so that emergency services have the opportunity to turn around. What also is good with this one is you're going to have those 2 access points instead of just one.
That'd be the other thing, that you do have 2 access points.
Right, and I believe there is a requirement, there needs to be 1 access point per 30 lots or 29 lots. I think once it's 30, you are required to have another access point unless you can prove otherwise that you wouldn't need one, or they would dedicate some sort of emergency access easement. But yeah, that would be more, like you said, more of a plating issue. But that is definitely part of the review process for plating issues.
Any other questions for the deck? Okay, we'll open it up to the community. Is anyone here to speak on this? Okay, so if you can stand up and let us know your name and your address, so that way you can say it nice and slow so Corey can get it for the meeting minutes, and Nick's gonna set the timer and yell 3 minutes.
I'm Teresa Brooks, and I live at 11825 East 3rd Street North, so basically directly across from the section that you're talking about. So you're talking about opening up the next street and opening up my street so that all the traffic will go down Zelta across my houses to 2nd Street. I will tell you right now, that street is so wide 2 cars cannot pass. The Hindu temple does not keep their property line clean. There are trees all the way to the road, and at this point 2 cars cannot even pass on that road at one time because of the narrowness of the road, and the fact that you have to drive through the trees to get there. So this would directly impact me, and if anybody would like to buy my house, I'm up for options if you're gonna do this.
Thank you for your comment. Thank you for. Phyllis, you just duly noted.
Yep.
Got it?
I'm making notes. And just so you know, when we do get public comment, we do bring those up. This will be going to the planning commission on the 23rd. So I make these notes.
I literally can show you pictures right now because a truck wiped out part of a tree and left it in the middle of the street, and I pulled it out of the street and can't drive without driving through the tree.
Well, what I can also do is go out to that west side of the property. I was only on the Jackson Heights side. I can go check out the other side of the property and take the city view pictures so the planning commission is aware of even the size of the street and the access from the west that would be possible if this were to be developed. So that's a very good comment.
You follow me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Mr. Moon.
And the community has been notified of the meeting of 23rd.
The notification should be going out very soon. I will double check on that.
Because that like is directly affecting me, and this is the very first time I heard of it, and this is not why I came to this meeting.
Okay, I will double check on that notification to make sure it got mailed out. If it wasn't in the mail, it should be coming in your mailbox if you're within that notification area.
Might have been the notification.
Was it?
Yeah.
Then they don't have an opportunity to come here.
Exactly.
Correct. Well, like I said, I'm not knowing exactly what her address was and if it was on the ownership list that was provided to us and where she lives in the vicinity of this.
So I'm directly west on Zelta.
Okay.
So you're gonna have to tear out the temple's fence or my fence And that's gonna put that street within about 10 feet of my actual building of my house.
I would suggest that you tell your neighbors and take it on yourself to be at that meeting. That is very, very important, that neighbors are there.
The details, it's May 23rd, which is a Thursday at 1:30 in the afternoon at the Defense Department.
Okay, can you work for me?
I'm sorry, can you work for her?
Okay. Any other community members? Yes, sir, can you state your name and your address?
Yes, I'm John Strickland, 335 North, 127th Street East. I live right adjacent to a property that was developed a number of years ago. And so I have a question. Can you tell us who the developer is for this?
The applicant for it is Steve Miller, Coons LLC, and the engineering firm working with him is Garber LLC.
Okay, well, it's different than ours. Ours has been in limbo for I don't know how long. And there was, we went through all the same thing that these people are gonna have to go through, all the meetings and get people together, just like you recommended she did. We did that. We went to the meeting. We got agreement that there would be walls around this development because there's a lake across the street from it that people already have trespassed over on those properties. I don't have that property, but my neighbors have had these problems. So we had agreement that there would be a wall around this. So final thing was then sent to the city. Our understanding was that if the city didn't agree to anything in that, that we would get another chance. We did not get another chance. The developer personally told me, no, there's no wall, I got that taken care of. So it's not developed. Okay, I'm just telling you, it's not developed. That developer, if it was gonna be the same developer, I was gonna talk to these people. It's no fun, okay? I hope that these people realize they have not been given adequate notice. The notice has not been posted. This gentleman brought up that it's supposed to be 14 days, and I think my calculation is he missed that. And so we had to have an extension on ours because actually one of the property owners never received the notice. And so we ended up having to have that reset. So these people may need a reset on their time.
Well, like I said, I will follow up with that and I will work with the internal staff to see if they miss their deadline, they may have to be deferred to the next
Don't
meeting.
cut them short. They're gonna need all the time.
No, you're right. Those are legal notice requirements that if they miss their part, then we would have to defer the meeting to the next meeting to make sure legal notice was given for the proper amount of time.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am, would you like to make comments?
Yes.
Can you state your name and your address, please?
My name is Sue Shildren. My address is 335 North 127th Street.
Yes.
And we went through what this lady is going through. We were under the understanding that if you had 60% of the neighboring property owners around the property being affected, that you could block. They wanted to change the zoning from single family to multiple apartments. And we were under the understanding that if you had 60% protested, you could block that. We had 80%. We went to the planning commissioner. The room was packed with the property owners, and we had everybody there. The planning commissioner said, oh, well, we're going to pass it anyway. Our voices meant nothing, nothing. The planning commissioners said, oh, well, we need to see progress in the area. And they passed it anyway, even though we had the majority of the landowners, the property owners there.
And I would be, do you know how long ago this happened?
About 3 years ago.
Yeah, about 3 years.
I'd be happy to check it into, but what happens normally is it goes to the planning commission, and then if you have the threshold of 20%
Yeah, so after the planning
petition,
commission,
then it
there's
still
a-
goes to the council.
Yeah.
So it doesn't just stop it, it still goes to
The planning commissioners said, oh, well, we need progress, and they just passed it anyway. And then we got this wall around it. They agreed that there would be a 6 or 8 foot wall around it. And then the developer laughed at us in the hallway as we left the meeting. He said, I'll do whatever I want to do. And he did.
It is. Fortunately, it's not been developed yet because his finances fell through. They developed this real nice new place on the other side of the street, and everybody wants to go move into there, and his finances fell through, so it's not been developed yet. But the planning commission just totally ignored the local people. So I feel sorry for this lady, because she's screwed.
Thank you for your comments. We appreciate it. Thank you. Anyone else from the community here to speak on this zoning case? All right, we're going to bring it back up to the district advisory board then. We have Philip still here. Any questions? Anything for Philip?
Well, the only information we have so far is that there hasn't been proper notification.
We don't know that for sure. He's going to check.
Well, we know there's no sign up.
Yeah, how come, they haven't been notified. How can we even do anything on that right now?
So the action is to do what, approve it?
Well, with the district advisory board, you have the opportunity to provide a recommendation of either approving as staff has written. You can have a motion to basically approve or recommend deferral of the case because of lack of adequate notification. You can recommend to the planning commission that you would deny this case. It doesn't necessarily mean that they would take that into consideration when they hear it in a couple of weeks. Those are, I feel like, the three main options. Is your action tonight informs the planning commission. If you were to want to defer, I would have to go back and see what our legal requirements are. If public notification was not done properly, we would be able to do that on the staff level and work with the applicant and make sure that it was different because they did not do what they were supposed to. So that's definitely something I'm going to check into anyway, and I will work with Commissioner Council to make sure that proper notification was done.
So, Mr. do you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to defer it. We just don't have anything to work with. I mean, the road thing really bothers me more than anything else.
So can you state how you want the motion to go into the minutes, please?
Just like to defer it for a later time till the people get involved, where the neighbors can come in and speak. I mean, seeing the roads and everything, I have a lot of questions. I mean, this place is in the boonies.
So, Corey, do you have what you need?
Yeah.
Minutes? Okay, so can you state what you put in the minutes?
Motion to defer to a later time.
Good.
You're
welcome. That's perfect.
I'll second it.
Real quick, I just want to make sure that by him putting it in, that we will check to make sure that notification went out. So I just want to make sure how brief that is, that we actually going through evidence of this.
That they're not denying the zoning case, just checking to make sure the notification has occurred.
And Councilwoman Tuttle, just if I may,
Yes.
and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, even with this motion, if we were to check that all legal notification parameters were set, and I'm not saying they were or were not, if we were, I don't know if we would have grounds to defer it based on this recommendation alone. Just want to make that aware and kind of even for the record of those even in the audience, as long as legal notifications were done, as a staff, from a staff perspective, we are not able to force the deferment of it. If legal requirements were not taken care of, we would be able to do that.
I got a question for Phil.
Yes, sir.
So if legal notification has been gone out to the folks over here, and you can't honor the permit, what's these folks' recourse?
The recourse is coming to the planning commission meeting on May 23rd. That is an additional public hearing. That is also the first step in the decision-making process where they hear the case. They would hear all the public comment that would have to come from the case for anybody who showed up in the audience. It works very much like this, where I present the case. Each individual has 3 minutes to state their case as to why they're in opposition to it. Planning commission would make a motion and a decision on it. And then from there, it would move on to city council, where there's a 2-week protest period, where even if planning commission were to approve this case, you can protest that decision. If 20% of the landowners within 200 feet of the property submit a protest petition, It requires city council to hear this meeting, and it requires a supermajority vote of 6 out of 7 votes for them to pass.
Right now, the folks don't have good faith in that protest because the other folks went through it.
It depends on when the protest was set. We get people who provide us protest letters and opposition prior to the planning commission meeting, and that doesn't count towards the city council decision. It is only when proper protest petitions are filed with the city clerk after the city council or after the planning commission meeting. That's the official protest petition to bring it aware to city council for them to potentially overturn the planning commission decision.
So we have a motion and we have a second and we're in discussion. And I will make sure that you get my card. Make sure you understand the process.
Yeah, my comment is having to be in the right place at the right time. To hear this. Don't wait for something to happen. Sometimes you're gonna have to take it upon yourself. Maybe get the word out in the community. Because I wouldn't just wait for it because the process is in place. I would maybe get letters to your neighbors and start the process as well.
And something else to remember, that's only at 250 feet. You know, you've got townhomes down there. I'm sure those people aren't going to be too happy with a bunch of traffic coming right around there and everything. I would spread it out even further than that.
Okay, so let's limit it to questions and we have a motion and a second.
Can we restate the motion after you put the disclaimer in
Yep.
there?
Corey?
Because we want to make sure.
So motion and second.
So the motion, Sam moved to defer to a later time so that we can check to make sure notice has been given. And it was seconded by Nazir.
Okay, so any other further discussion or questions? Okay, we're gonna go ahead and call the vote. All those in favor of deferring until we ensure that proper notification is been given, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right,
Nick
so,
does.
yes, Nick, are you gonna abstain? Or do you have, you said no?
Yes.
You say no, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand, thank you. So you have one against. Okay, thank you, Philip. All right, I know you are. So let's go on to the next new, and Pam, I have my card here. Next new business case, Philip, take it away.
The second zoning case I have for you tonight is an amendment to the Reed Commercial Community Unit Plan, BP 222. This property is located at 127th Street East, this time at 21st Street North. Intended use on this property, it's going to develop parcel 8, which is currently undeveloped in the community unit plan. The intended use is for an indoor doggy daycare. I do have Blake Bauer here in the audience. He is representing the applicant. He does have a short presentation he would like to put before the board this evening. I would like to say that this doggy daycare, very same facility, just went through the planning commission process on West Central, and they got approved, and they were moving forward with renovating a building out there. And this would be their second location in Wichita. When it comes to the operational structure, nature, all that stuff of the business, I will defer that to Blake. He can talk about their business for them. I'll try to keep things related to the zoning application. The purpose of this application was to amend the CUP to reduce the minimum lot area for the kennel. Our code requires them to be 5 acres unless they're going to be indoors or if noise is going to be heard at the property line. But look, that property is only 0.97 acres. It was also looking to reduce the setbacks on the north and the west from 50 feet to 15 feet, basically allowing this use to occupy this less than an acre parcel. This location is not a vet, it is simply going to be a kennel and training facility. All of the kenneling will be done indoors, so there's not going to be any outdoor kennels. Animals will be allowed outside, but only at prescribed times for outdoor play. Dogs will not be left outside all day unattended. Anytime there are animals outside, there are at least 1, if not 2, staff members. And again, Blake will get into that discussion as to their operating structure. Again, this is allowable in a limited commercial zoning district by conditional use, and this is the process they're working through. And the reason this is allowable on anything less than 5 acres is because all the kenneling will be done indoors. In the area, there's a convenience store, which is Quick Trip. There's a couple shopping centers in there. There's a office building, as well as a preschool daycare and a nursing home and rehab. You can see the site plan there showing where parcel 8 is. It's just west of that nursing home and rehab area. It is important to note that this was just heard at the Planning Commission last Thursday, May 9th. We are now in that protest petition. That's why we're here. This is the second public hearing of the case. And if there was anybody who was in opposition to this case, still had the ability to file those protest petitions to potentially have city council hear this case. So even though planning commission approved this 11-2 with one abstention, this does not mean it's over. So if there were any opposition, you can fill out protest petitions through May 24th, and those can be filed with the city clerk. Staff is recommending approval of this. And if there are any questions for staff, I can take them at this time. Or like I said, Blake Bowers here, he has a presentation about their organization and what kind of standards and practice they have with their business.
Any questions for Philip?
Is there any maximum of the number of units that can be killed?
I believe this is, and Blake can talk about this too, technically it was written for up to 150 dogs. They said that with that, the chances of, and Blake talked about this in the planning commission, because they had the same reaction there, that number of dogs is very unlikely. They use that really to manage their parking requirement for kind of the ins and outs of customers as well as staff members. So though that's what that is, Blake even said that that number was very unlikely to be reached. And again, I'll defer to Hannah to talk a little bit more detail about the reason for that number.
Mr. Bauer?
I know where it is now. I can picture it.
So hopefully this will load quickly. Corey and I had trouble with the PowerPoint loading, so we're doing it through my office portal. So sorry for this, not the same version of this. But thank you for having me to the board. And my goal for today is to show you a lot of pictures and talking about the philosophy of our facility. We're going to build a brand new facility there. It's as the west side, we did 5500 West Central. It was a renovation of an existing building. Well, here we're looking at a brand new facility. So all things will be brand new. The reason I want to show you a lot of the pictures and talk about our facilities is that a lot of places that you'll go into have been mom and pop facilities that have operated for years. And they're maybe a little bit run down. Maybe you have one by you that hasn't been taken care of. And so I thought it was important to show you all of these things here. And we're still recovering the web page, so hopefully it'll respond here. And I'll talk a little about our philosophy as it comes along, and hopefully that'll respond. So the main things to point out is we have locations right now in Merriam, Manhattan, Topeka, Lawrence, and Leawood. And then I have the location that we're finishing the plan set on for 5500 West Central. And then this location, North Kansas City and Columbia, Missouri, that we're looking into. And our philosophy is really very centered around the dogs. We want to have people in every room. The dogs are never by themselves when they're in play groups. They aren't boarded outside. They're boarded. They're boarded in brand new Shoreline kennels. And our finishes in the facility are going to be rubber flooring in the playrooms, epoxy flooring in the kennel rooms and any wet areas that there might be there, and then we'll have LVT flooring in the lobby and in the hallways. The grass will have an outdoor play yard that's on the sheet. And I think maybe you have a site plan in your packet as well, but it's called canine grass, and maybe we'll get lucky and it'll pop up. But that canine grass is specifically made for the use of animals. And then also basically some of the main things that have come up during the calls or some of our meetings have also been the security of the animals. And the fencing that we have around the yard is 8-foot vinyl privacy fencing, which is a very big deal because the dogs cannot see in or out of it. And when you have that privacy of that without pickets, without chain link, other things like that, if the dogs can't see out, they're not barking, they're not stressed, they're not causing stress on each other. We also will put vinyl fencing in between 3 different yards, and we will have the dogs grouped by temperament and age and size. And so if they're able to group by that temperament, age, and by size, then they're with like-kind dogs. I have an old mutt, a 13-year-old mutt. he goes in with the little dogs when he goes in, because the big active dogs, it isn't where he likes to be. It looks like we're working again. And so just to show you a few of these pictures that we've talked about in the philosophy here. This is a part of our philosophy, and it's a state-of-the-art facility. Safety and happiness of your pup is the main thing that we pay attention to, and team members are carefully selected and trained. So that's really important to say as well, is that we put somebody through a very important process to train them. We'll have day play. So a lot of places now are starting to do where you can drop your dog off, go to work, pick them back up on the way, so it allows your active dog to do something besides tear up your house or be in a kennel at your own house. We also have night stay for boarding, grooming, and then we also do have kitty care. We have a small 8 cat room to handle cats when you're also gone on vacation. Big thing is standard of care. Pups receive a behavioral assessment during their first visit. I hate to say it, but we will fire your pup if they are not playing well with others. We require that that they have all their shots, and we require that they're spayed or neutered. And so we try to make sure that those animals then can play with other animals, and all animals are safe in the facility. Outdoor area, talked about the privacy fence. We also do music for a calming effect, and the staff being trained. These are the really pictures I wanted to show you some of the animals in the facilities. You can see here in this picture, that's the rubber flooring that's in the playroom that they're seeing right here. And then also out here, this is during snow here in our Manhattan facility, but the dogs are even out at that time, out during that day, and they're on that canine grass. And this is a pool actually too that we cover up during the winter, but then we can fill that with water each day so the dogs can play in the pool. This is an 8-foot tall privacy fence. Just to show you, this is our facility right along 435 in Kansas City, in the Leawood area, and just to show you that you can't see through that at all. I think that's very important to show you. And then this is the inside of that area. Shows you this. This is actually our Topeka store. Shows the inside there, and then this is the inside of the indoor play area with the this is the small dog area. So once again, it's divided by dog size as well for the temperament of the dogs. And this is the kennels. I know this was brought up on the West Central location. They were wondering, well, you're going to be keeping dogs outside all day. No, they're shuffled in and out of the facility depending on different times of the day, the weather, and this is the type of kennels that we keep them in. So the big thing to show you is this top right is the type of kennels, and we also have luxury suites. So if you're so inclined, this middle one right down here at the bottom has a TV in it and a private door. Looks just like that. And you can put your dog. I will be perfectly honest, I grew up on a farm in Clay County, Kansas, and I will just tell you there was not one of these available in Kansas. But what we're finding is a lot of people want to spoil their pup. It's their animal, it's their person, it's their child. And so if they're so inclined and they want a private room, a lot of people will have 2 dogs and put them in there because they get anxiety being apart. We'll put both of those dogs in that room together. It's about a 4x6, 5x7, somewhere in that range room for privacy for that dog. A couple more pictures to show you. This is why I want to show you is the finish. And I know the light in here isn't great, but you can see that this is a grooming area right here in our Topeka facility when it opened, and we're grooming a pup right there right with the front windows so they can look out. We also have the lobby here. You can see the brand new glazing that's put in place, the brand new front desk counter, and then you can also see the hallways and luxury suites. We also have security cameras up at all times so we can check from our office. One of the biggest questions we're asked is, how do you clean the facility and is it safe? Rescue is what we use, and that is very important because it is veterinary recommended and approved. And we use Rescue because it's hydrogen peroxide based. It kills like 99% of pathogens within 1 minute. And we are able to use that in dogs. It's safe around pups at all times, and that's why we've chosen to use that that cleaning solution. It disinfectants at the same time, and I can answer questions about it later, but I will tell you it's the perfect thing to use, and it's been veterinarian recommended to us. The other question we get asked is what do you do with the solid waste? Well, with that outdoor yard, if you saw, it's very, very clean because we have people out there at all times. We pick up and double bag any solid waste that we have, and it's thrown away. It's not put down toilets. It's double bagged and thrown away and then hauled off by the trash company. And so you can see the left picture shows a can that's in each play yard, and the right picture shows what a standard a trash corral, and this one's from our Marion location in Kansas City. Specifically on the location, this dot right here is 127th and 21st Street. The Quick Trip's right there. We're right behind that is the end of the development that we're looking at with Reed's Cove. This is the site of where the location, and this is our site plan sitting in there on that site. So you can see exactly how it's going to sit in there. And then here's a little bit closer. And I want to, one of the things about the 150 dogs, and thank you for that question earlier, we had to put a number on that for parking ratio. There really isn't a number for the building. It was about parking ratio and making sure that those fit. And so what we did is we kind of looked at how many parks we thought we needed in the building and backed into that 150. We have not done the exact layout of this building yet. So my architecture, until I get through the zoning process, we didn't want to spend the money on the architecture yet. But we're probably looking at 100 to 120 kennels in there. But also those dogs will go into those kennels and back out during the day, depending on what time of year it is. Like a husky wants to be out during the winter, but you get August and that husky wants to stay inside all day. So it kind of depends on the temperament. A lot of dogs will go up for lunch. You put them in for lunch, even if they're there for day play. They'll be there for day play. They're not staying in kennel for the night, but we will go put them up so that they can rest during the day, because the dog does not need to be running around that much. They're just tired. So on the facility, that's where that dog count comes from. And then finally, just to show you a need, it's a little bit hard to see. This is that location. I Google searched doggy daycares, and I went from on the left of the screen, Rock, out to about Andover Road, everything north of Kellogg. There's 2 other spots that are on the map. This one right down here, and then another location north of 96. So you can see there's only 2 others, and I think that we fit exactly the need is what, at least on the Google search. And all I did was do a Google search for doggy daycare. So if you have one you know of, I didn't honestly mean to leave it off, but please let me know. One other quick item to point out is who we are. So HCI Hospitality is the management company, but we are owned and operate this as well. We're Freddy's franchisees, and we operate 31 Freddy's in North Carolina, Texas, and in Nebraska. And our back house service there at the office is accounting, human resources, marketing, IT. We are expanding this to help, because our owner's a dog owner and just loves dogs, to be perfectly honest, and got into one in Manhattan and said, hey, this is pretty neat, and there's a need out there in the community. The reason I show you this is because to show you that we're not a nobody, we're not a mom and pop. And so what we do is we take all the functions out of that manager and those employees that they don't want to do and allow them just to be with the pups. And so if they can just be with the pups, then then they can do what they love, and we can handle all the back of house. The only other last thing to show you is this is our own home office. This is our office right here that we have about 40 people in Manhattan on McCall Road. And this is our Wolf's facility in a conjoined building. It's an Orscheln's that we redone and purchased. And just to show you how close we are to the facility and the noise, because that's another question we get. Oh, there's going to be dogs everywhere, the noise. My controller sits in this office right here. It's very close to, it's in this office right here, and there's dog boarding right on the other side of the wall. Insulation, and he can work all day long in a quiet environment that he can do his job. So I thought that was really important to show you how close they are and how much we believe in how we do our business. And that we aren't a nuisance, and we provide a service for yourself and your residents. And there's our website if you have any questions.
Great, thank you, Mr. Bauer, appreciate it. So any questions to Mr. Bauer from the DAB?
On the layout of the building, can you show where the actual fencing, where will that be on? Because as you said, it's going to be 8-foot vinyl fencing that goes around. So
Yes, ma'am. In this current layout right here, around these outsides.
So is that facing which?
This is the street. This is this cul-de-sac right here, and this is the north.
Okay.
This is the west.
So if we go to this picture, there's that play yard right there, and that one there.
Where's the Quick Trip?
The Quick Trip is right here.
Yeah, they're actually backing up. There's a new building has gone in right next to the Quick Trip here. I believe it's an office building of some kind.
And this lot's open right here.
And so you're up against that open lot, and then this is that small retail strip center.
Any other questions for Mr. Bauer? Anyone here from the community yes, ma'am, can you please let us know your name and your address?
Mary Cole, 2525 North Somerset, and I had heard his presentation before at Evergreen Library. And chemical that he's talking about. I don't know whether that's used on the inside or outside. And so I was wondering about the care of the outside where the play areas, you know, and the chemicals that are used. And I know in the previous presentation, you said they're safe. And my only question or comment is, and I said something to Cindy after our presentation, in the Sedgwick County area, we've had problems in various places with, water problems, groundwater. So I would suggest if this is approved, that before it's installed, the groundwater test be done before it's built. And the other thing, I guess, have him explain to us, you know, how often does this play yard get cleaned with the chemical? And I remember he told that it drains down, it's permeable or something. So anyway, I just thought maybe it'd be advantageous to those of you that live in this part of town to hear about it.
Mr. Byron, can you address that?
Yes, the outdoor play yard is cleaned with rescue. It's also, we have a brush that'll brush that grass and clean anything in that grass, and it'll be swept up. It's cleaned daily and on the disinfectant on that. And the grass is set over about a foot of AB3. So we'll excavate the area. We'll put concrete curbs around the whole thing that the fence sets directly down on so dogs can't dig under it. And then we'll put about a foot of AB3 that this can naturally soak in for any water. It's also hosed down so that water can just, that natural water can go through that as well.
And AB3 is?
AB3 is a rock.
I know.
Yes, it's a limestone rock base.
Yeah.
I know you knew, Nazir. I knew you knew. All right. Any other, yes, ma'am, if you can state your name and your address. And your
My name's Karen Cyril. My address is 2133 North Glenwood Court. I live in Reed's Cove, which is right next to where you're planning to put in this facility. So just a couple simple questions. You say that there will be an individual out there in the play yard with the dogs at all times. What percentage of the day would you anticipate the dogs being outdoors? And I know it's weather dependent. We live in Kansas, there's lots of factors, but a day like today, how much of the time would someone be out there? And what is the ratio of animal per human? Because we're owned by lots and lots of dogs, and unless you have some magical situations of keeping dogs from barking, that could be a very interesting perspective. So that's one question. I have a second one. So if you wouldn't mind answering that, what is the ratio of the individual to dogs and what percentage of the day?
Sure. Kansas doesn't have a law that requires a ratio. And so North Carolina does, and some of those other ones which we've tracked. Kansas doesn't have them, so it depends on the temperament of the dogs during that time. We'll have 1 to 2 people in with every group. And you noticed in my pictures, I had different size of dogs. We'll have 3 different yards, indoor and outdoor. And so then there'll be 1 to 2 people in each one of those groups. So I could have 3 to 6 people in those groups. And at the time, it could be 10 dogs, could be 20 dogs. It's going to be in that range.
And then this is being for up to 150 animals. You have several facilities already. You're indicating that this is not something that you would anticipate having 150 animals there. What is your situation so far in regard to the other facilities that are open and going? What is the ratio between how many they are licensed for as opposed to how many you come on a daily basis?
So to answer one of your questions, part of that is total dog count. The total dog count is the 150, not the ratio in those, because we will rotate the dogs, and some of them will be up in those kennels, some of them will be out. And so the Manhattan facility, for instance, had 50 today, but had a couple weeks ago had 80. And all weekend it had 60. I just looked up the number. We have 60 dogs in our Manhattan facility right next to our office this weekend. And then it's still going to be in that 10 to 20 range per person, depending on the temperament of the dogs that day.
And is the Topeka facility also for 150 dogs, or is it licensed for a much smaller area?
Topeka, Manhattan, and Lawrence are all the same size facility and same license and that same. I was giving you the dog count number. This specific numbers that I talked about were a requirement of the city on parking ratios, which is why we had to come up with the 150.
Okay, but the 150 in Topeka, Lawrence, Are they also a 150 dog facility? Is that what you would consider when you're getting about half of it right now?
Right now, we have a 10,000 square foot facility on the sheet. I honestly think it's going to be about a 9,000 square foot facility when I'm done with the architecture of it. I'm shrinking it down just a touch. Manhattan, Topeka, and Lawrence are all between 7,800 and 8,000 square feet. Overland Park is a 14,000 square foot facility. So our Overland Park facility is much larger than all these and has more than 150 dogs in it.
And the
That's
West
3
Side
minutes.
Okay, sorry.
Do you want to ask your last question?
At West Side location, how many is it being licensed for, or whatever the correct terminology?
6,000 square foot facility is what that one is, and I believe 60 was the number with the parking ratio there.
Okay, so 60, okay? So,
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for coming this evening. Any other questions or cases? Yes, sir. Can you state your name and your address?
Yeah, Fred Hermish, 2401 North, 224th Street West. I actually am the owner of the nursing facility that sits right next door to this. And I will tell you, when I first came about this, I actually drove up to Manhattan, driving back from Topeka, stopped in Manhattan on a Friday afternoon just to kind of see. I was impressed, very impressed. It was extremely clean, very, very nice facility. There was probably 70, 75 dogs, I think they told me there, in 3 different kennels, plenty of staff. I only heard one bark, and that was a boxer coming up to greet me. And I can tell you, I've talked to my activity director. She is ecstatic. She goes, I'm going to take some residents over there and vet some puppies. And so they're really excited. So I'm very much in support of this. I also talked to Jason Center, who is building just north of there, and he's in support of this as well. So we're excited. I've never, and I have a son that's a veterinarian, and I've owned a dog 45 years of like 58-year-old life. And I've never seen such a high-class quality environment in all my life. I was just super impressed. So I'm very much in support. And they do have a lot of staff, and they also embrace people with disabilities. The day I was there, there was several staff, but one was a young Down syndrome gal, and she was just loving up on those dogs. It was just awesome to see. So, yeah.
Thank you for your comments. Thank you. Did anybody else from the community? Yes.
I'm Wes Kelly, and I live in Reed's Cove in 2017 in Glenwood Court. I've had several people visit me about the facility. I think the concern that I see with most people is that that's a lot of dogs in a fairly small space in an area that has not yet developed out. That's a medium dining strip center next to your facility and what have you. And from his presentation, I can see that he takes care of his first-class facility. Facilities age over time. What's always intended is not necessarily what to maintain. 150 cars, if you get to that level in there, you dump it out on that 13th Street that's just been improved. 127th Street, 13th and 21st Street. That street is morning and evening in particular, because you got those 2 large churches. You got Magdalene Church and you got New Spring Church. Has thousands of people together at church meetings. So any increased traffic is going to add to a problem in that regard. I'm not interested in having dogs in the area park. You can't stop them because the dog park. You may try to minimize that a little bit, but that's just where they are. First class facility is great. Dogs don't really care. They're just dogs, hanging out doing what they do. So over time, my concern is will it be maintained to the extent that it doesn't have odors that are moved around by the air depending on where it's blowing. You don't have excessive sounds from time to time that are basically a problem for the neighbors, because as she had indicated, a lot of people in Reed's Cove have dogs. They bark all the time. One barks a mile away and everybody in the neighborhood barks all night long just about. So that can potentially add to the problems in that regard. So when the rest of that area gets built up, there'll be more and more traffic going into that little cul-de-sac and jumping out on the streets. And that won't be a positive thing, but that area is going to continue to grow. So I just want you to think about that.
Can you state your name again?
Wes Kelly.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else from the community? Yes, ma'am. Could you state your name and address?
Yes, absolutely. My name is Kathy Green. I'm at 2105 North Glenwood Court, and that is in the Reed's Cove Housing Edition. First, I guess I would address I find requesting a minor amendment to reduce the minimum lot size from 5 acres to less than 1 acre, kind of laughable that you consider that minimum. And that you would consider it a minor amendment to reduce the 50-foot setback to 15 feet, so like a 2/3 reduction. That's kind of laughable that it's considered to be a minor adjustment. There are at least 5 doggy daycares within 5 miles of this facility. I know my dog goes to one. I am one of those people that takes my dog to doggy daycare. Yes, they do bark. Yes, you can hear them from outside the facility to inside the facility when they are there over lunch, or when it's their close of business hours and they brought the dogs in, they're waiting for the owners to come pick them up. Traffic is a concern, not just on the weekend churches, but those churches also have private schools, so there's very young people that are driving there continually. So increased traffic is a great concern for us, particularly at that time of day. I work from home. I'm probably 500 feet from the facility. I know when I'm on conference calls with my headset, not a speakerphone, the people that I'm talking to can hear my dog bark outside my home. So this is a concern for me for my business and my home. You know, put this on the highway then. If it's such a great idea, put it right next to the highway instead of right in my backyard. Finally, I guess I would ask, I would also mention that the groundwater testing, thank you very much, a great idea. I live on a retention pond in the neighborhood. We already spent tens of thousands of dollars to dredge it and have it fixed after the sediment came down from inappropriate best management practices from that quick trip area and ended up in our retention pond. So that's quite a concern for us with the fish die-off. Finally, I guess I would ask, what do you do when you receive a noise complaint from a neighbor? And then finally, what do you do when you receive a noise complaint from a police officer?
Mr. Barr, you want to answer those 2 questions and then we'll bring it back to the desk?
Sure. I don't have a policy to read you off about what we do on a noise complaint. I do know that we do a practice every day, in every shift, with every employee on training them how to keep dogs safe and keep them quiet. I understand that. I understand from the looks on your faces the skepticism of that, but you also have to understand that we have trained people with them that put them with same-sized dogs.
My dog is AKC registered and has several titles for obedience, agility, rally, and following commands and directions. And I can guarantee you that he is not quiet.
We're gonna bring it back up here. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'm sorry for that, but what we do is we do the best we can, and we set up the system so that we can keep them as quiet and happy as possible.
Thank you very much for the public comment. Anything back from the board? Yes.
I can dispose of solid waste, paper, or plastic.
Plastic.
Any other questions from the desk? Great. Anyone interested in making a motion?
Yeah, I'll move to approve it. I think the outdoor ends at 8:15, they've got them segregated. Yeah, it's probably gonna be about the time. It is my neighborhood, it was with my 2 dogs. I'll move.
We have a second. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Just clarification. The motion was to approve the amendment as with the conditions as written, correct?
Looking at it, dropping it 80%, so is not critical. If this were a bigger dog training facility or something, I happen to use one out of Valley Center, that's quite a large area. I have about 2 minutes to replace them. But I think they regulate the dogs in and out. I don't know what it's going to do to that west side development, the open space directly behind Quickfield, but that's a different issue.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion and a second. No further discussion, we'll call the vote. All those in favor of approving, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? Zero's abstain. One abstain. Oh, and Tracy's abstain. Thank you, Mr. Bauer. So we passed
802.
8 with 2 abstaining. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bauer. Thank you, Philip. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone in the community who provided comments. Appreciate it. So last on the agenda for this evening under new business, we have item number 11 that I think probably most people are here for this evening. So this is Stephanie here to present. Stephanie? All right, so we're gonna let Stephanie do her presentation and then we will open it up to public comment. And while Stephanie's getting set up, we'll just remind everyone that when you have a public comment, we're gonna give you 3 minutes. 3 minutes. You and Nick's gonna time. We will have you state your name and your address. We would ask that if you are saying something that somebody has already said, and especially if it's been said several times, that maybe you don't take the 3 minutes or you just trust us that we've heard it. So if you're saying the exact same thing some other folks have said, there's no need to probably repeat it again. So with that, Stephanie, we'll turn it over to you. Trying. Do you need any help? And if you could put the signs down, that would be great.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I guess we should have done.
That would be great, just so that we make sure everybody can see.
Well, I'm at the back.
I think it's starting, I'm not sure here. Maybe.
There it is.
Okay.
Technology is awesome when it works, right?
Right.
Making it right now.
Where do you need me to stand?
Wherever you want to be standing.
I move a lot.
Okay, that's fine.
Sorry, I move a lot. My name is Stephanie McCurdy, and I'm now the past chair of the Animal Services Advisory Board. And our new chair, Vanessa, is here with me today. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about trap, neuter, and return, which is formally trap, neuter, and release. And so a few years ago, in 2015, when the Animal Services Advisory Board was formed, it came to our attention that trap and neuter and release, or return, was an important topic to the Wichita community. And so we developed a committee that stepped in and did a lot of work and a lot of research about what can it really bring for the community and what can we do. So TNR is trap, neuter, and return. It's a method of reducing outdoor cat populations by capturing them, providing them with spay and neuter services, and returning them to their original environment. This is a cute little graphic that just kind of shows really what it is. So kind of what happens is we want to make sure that these animals, whenever they're brought into the facility, are well taken care of. So cats are trapped or captured. They're taken and transported to a clinic to have services performed. They undergo the surgery and their ears are notched. They're given a few days to recover and then they're returned to their environment. So community-wide TNR programs are already happening here in Wichita. They're happening on a smaller scale. They will continue to happen going forward as well. So what this does is it's supposed to help reproduction of existing cats through sterilization. So that means that, do any of you on this board have cats? Okay, so you are familiar with the fact that when a cat has a litter, it's not just 1, 2, or 3. It can be in excess of almost to 10 sometimes, right? And their gestation period is so much smaller in time frame than a human or any other animal, so they can have 2 to 3 litters a year. So what this does is this allows the halt of the reproduction. So we're spaying, neutering, and ear tipping and giving them services for vaccinations. It halts that reproduction. So they'll go back to their original environment and they're no longer going to be reproducing cats at a very large level. We also vaccinate these cats against rabies and other diseases depending on the available resources, which also addresses the public health and safety risks. Okay? It decreases the nuisance complaints by eliminating and dramatically reducing noise from cat fighting and mating and odor from unneutered male cats, and that they spray their urine to mark their own territory. It eases the burden on the community resources, such as animal shelters, that are flooded with cats and their offspring. Right now, we're pretty much in kitten season, so every day there are multiple litters being brought in to animal services each and every day. With trap and neuter and return, it allows us to, with the young kittens, to be able to socialize them and to be routed into an adoption process. And it also, depending on the available shelter resources, we can actually put them up for adoptions from the shelter. Also, friendly adult cats that are trapped, it allows us to evaluate them for potential reunification with lost owners, transition them into a home care situation, or rehoming through rescue and shelter channels if available. So the overall goal of trap and neuter and return is to decrease the population over time. Okay. So as I said, in 2015, we developed a committee from the Animal Advisory Board to look at developing a standard for the city of Wichita. In December of 2017, the city provided us with a community survey, and about 20% of the respondents felt that feral cats were a nuisance in their neighborhoods. About 64% of the respondents felt that the city should take an active role in assisting neighborhoods with this issue. And 48% felt that the most pressing issue for animal control was to reduce the euthanasia rate in the shelter. Okay. So a proposed draft ordinance was presented to the Animal Advisory Board in April of 2018. This committee presented the ordinance and we discussed it at several meetings. We heard a lot of public comment, and a final draft of the ordinance was developed and provided to the Wichita Police Department, and then heading on to the Wichita City Council. The police department also at this time formed an internal committee to review the ordinance and to ensure the applicability and the enforceability. And then this was the purpose of the ordinance. The city of Wichita recognizes the need for innovation in addressing the issues presented by feral and free-roaming cats. To the end, it recognizes that trap, neuter, and return program is a viable option to manage and over time reduce the population of community cats, thus reducing the number of cats entering our shelter system and essentially being euthanized. The program relies on volunteer caretakers to trap free-roaming cats to be spayed, neutered, and or ear-tipped, vaccinated, and then returned to the location where they were originally trapped with the property owner's permission, or as a last resort to an alternate location. The creation of TNR that addresses the overpopulation of cats is important to the city of Wichita. So just to give you some rough numbers, in 2015, we had 2,118 cats that were euthanized in the city. In 2016, we had 1,630. In 2017, we had 1,227 that were euthanized. And at the end of 2018, we had 920. So you'll notice how that is slowly starting to go down. We have an organization here in Wichita that has been doing TNR for many years, and they have been providing services for the community to be able to trap, spay and neuter, vaccinate, and return these animals to their original environment. So in 2015, this organization TNR'd 662 cats. In 2018, they did 1,017 cats. And as of this morning, they've already done 483. So compare that number to the original number. So we're down 25, or we're only euthanizing 25% of the cats that are coming into the shelter. So an approximate cost, according to Wichita Animal Services, to keep an animal in the shelter is approximately $20 to $25 a day. On an average, Wichita Animal Services keeps an animal for 12 days. The state law is 3. We give them a little buffer, so if there's an animal that has been missing from their home, they can be reunited with their family member, and or if an animal rescue steps in and takes that animal out of the shelter. Friends of Felines, who is the organization that is currently doing this, it costs them about $10 per cat to spay and neuter, ear tip, rabies vaccinate, and to return them to their original environment. So some more ordinance highlights is there's mandated registration for cat colonies, there's annual reporting requirements, and it's applicable to be enforced by animal services if warranted. So we've had a lot of questions about how do we enforce anything outside of the sphere of TNR. So we already have in city ordinance that if there is a nuisance on our property with any type of an animal, it is already covered in other ordinances. So Wichita Animal Services can take action and either remove that animal and or get resources to that person to help the animal that's in crisis. So what does this mean for our community? So the buy-in for TNR costs the city of Wichita $0. So what that means is this is a community-driven program. So you have to have community buy-in, and then we are able to, outside of the city government, create other funding sources to be able to fund TNR. So with that, to be able to apply for more grants and to be able to spay and neuter more cats, we have to have an ordinance in place. That way we can apply for other grants to help pay for these so we can spay and neuter on a larger scale. This is a community-centric approach to solving the issue as opposed to just being government-focused. Reduction of intake numbers of cats in shelters is the ultimate goal in reducing the euthanasia regarding cats. The current reduction is at 25%, which is a significant decrease from 66% in 2013. We believe that the community will embrace the effective cat management programs such as TNR, and we will be rewarded with goodwill from residents. And without TNR, it stresses the shelters, overwhelms resources, and far exceeds capacity, and it gives false expectations to citizens that are coming to animal services for help. It will resolve the problem. So the recommendation from Wichita Animal Services Advisory Board is to place the ordinance on the first reading and authorize the necessary signatures to move forward.
Thank you, Stephanie. Do we have any questions from the board members?
Is there a fee for the registered community cat colony when they go through the city? I don't know if there is.
So we haven't done the guidelines. So we are just in the preliminary stages of the ordinance. So there would be, Ms. Jan Jarman is here today, so she would be the one that would help draft those community care guidelines, as well as if there would be any fees associated.
Who does the annual reporting? Who does it? You said there's the annual reporting requirement.
They would report to the city on an annual basis. The caregivers. So that way we would be able to identify where the colonies are, how many cats are in each colony, and be able to know if they've already received the services for TNR and then placed back in their environment.
So is there some form of a template? I mean, are they trained on that? And then this caregiver is just a volunteer, right?
Right.
So is there a control to make sure that the numbers we get the annual report, are we just based on the volunteers' willingness? How do you enforce that? They're just volunteers, right?
Right. So the caregivers are volunteers. That's a great question. However, we do have already Wichita Animal Services that are going to go out. They already get calls. So they're already going out and checking on colonies. So we would kind of imagine it would probably be in those guidelines as well.
There's a maximum size in each colony, isn't it?
8.
Maybe
8. I just want to go back real quick. I think The other part, no, I just thought of this though. Stephanie, when she's asking about reporting, the Friends of Feline will be the ones doing the reporting also about the number of cats. Is that correct?
Yeah, so each organization that will be helping these individuals, Friends of Felines, they are already doing this on a small scale, as I reported to you today. With more of those coming in, there will be other community members, such as other rescues, like Wichita Animal Action League, Beauties and Beasts, other rescues that will help step in and will help with those reporting guidelines as well. Jen, did you?
Well, on the surface, it sounds like you're doing a great job. So why do we need an ordinance? It sounds like work and find program. You don't want to have cats go extinct, so, but you're reducing it 20-25%.
Sure. So the reduction in the euthanasia rate is great. However, we want to keep.
No, I mean in the cat population. Or you just talked about the.
I'm just talking about just in the cat population.
The euthanasia rate.
Right, the euthanasia rate's going down because we've already been doing TNR. We would just like to bring everyone into compliance with the ordinance that's already there and make sure that we're able to identify where all of these colonies are. And also it opens up opportunity for grant money for organizations to be able to continue to do this. The rescues that are currently doing that, yes, they do have those certificates.
I'll tell you in advance, I'm going to abstain on this one because it's a time problem. When I first learned about this, so it was Friday or something like this when it came out. I got maybe some people moved here. We all got some letters, and I appreciate that. I tried to respond to the ones that I got. There weren't many cons, and so I spent about 2.5 hours today starting that research. And there is counter research out there in terms of effectiveness. I just don't think I have the time, to give this a decent review. I don't think there's in a sense, a happy solution here anyway. You euthanize, you try to keep them around. Vaccination would be nice to keep them vaccinated so that that doesn't have a public health issue. Seems to be mixed. And I was an academic. Being able to control all of the variables that go into the success of this is a pretty daunting task. And the only one that I saw seemed to be kind of a controlled experiment was done at Texas A&M a few years ago, and it came out. They couldn't make a decision as to how effective they've been. Doesn't mean they weren't, but it's a very difficult data collection and measuring the problem. So I'm not discouraging at all, and I might come along for it just fine, but I just don't feel that I have the time to do the research.
So is it true that if you feed the feral human, is that part of the argument?
So if you're feeding a colony caregiver that's feeding a colony, they're not a true owner defined in the ordinance. So they're just a caregiver, so they wouldn't actually own that animal. Yes, Jan.
I'm sorry, I'm Jan Darman, the law department, and what Stephanie said is true in the new ordinance. I think she might have misunderstood. I think you're asking about currently, or
okay.
to do with current. Currently, if you feed a cat, you harbor it in his worst.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I think she misunderstood.
Oh yeah, I thought you were talking about the new ordinance.
So
Sorry.
that would change in the new ordinance where it would not.
They would not be the true owner, they would be the caregiver.
Currently, they would be.
Right.
So those people that don't feed them, own them, they are then responsible for them. They would not fall into colonies that don't get.
No, they would, so essentially we're asking them to register, identify however many are in the colony, to be able to spay and neuter them, vaccinate them, and then return them back to that person. So that person would then continue on being their caregiver. So they would still feed them, give them water. If they needed any type of medical care, they would be the one responsible for contacting someone to get medical care.
Why wouldn't they be responsible for it themselves already as an owner?
So a lot of these owners, I mean, they rely on community programs to help feed them or get them vaccinated or spay and neuter them already.
this becomes an ordinance, that means it's enforceable.
Right.
So how is it enforced?
So whenever we get a nuisance complaint at Wichita Animal Services, they go out on that complaint. Okay, so they're documenting where the nuisance is coming from and trying to rectify the situation. So if they've gone out to a property multiple times and there's a nuisance, they're going to take care of that.
They being the police?
Wichita Animal Services. So we have a whole department that all that they deal with is animals.
They're under the police.
Yes, they are under the Wichita Police Department.
So they can write a citation?
They can write a citation, they can enforce a citation, they can send someone to court for their violation. Absolutely.
Alicia, did you have a question? Yeah, I have a question. So we know that grants are limited, and so once, if this was passed, what's the, like, kind of the gap in terms of financially filling the gap until grants come in? I know Petco does grants, and there's a lot of resources, but obviously you have some time right before a grant is given. So what's the financial plan, or what's that look like in terms of?
So we have organizations that are already doing this. They're taking community donations, they're doing donation drives, so they're already ready to maintain what they're currently doing. And right now we're at a little over 500, I think. So with the grants, they're still going to continue on down the road, apply for those grants, and when those grants come in, then they would be able to do that on a larger scale. Right now, we have this K-State mobile unit that's coming down, I believe it's once a month, that is assisting in this program, so it's keeping that cost way down.
I read somewhere that it was $60 a cat to do the spay and neuter and the ear tipping at the Kansas Humane Society. Is that?
I can't speak on their prices.
Yes. Okay.
That's true. That's true. Okay. A lot of information. Yeah. Any other questions? Can I answer one thing? You talked about the health risk and like the vaccinations and stuff with rabies. So just so you know, there's only been 2 reported cases from August 2018 until last Wednesday of rabies in Sedgwick County. One was a bat and one was a skunk. So no cats. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna go out to the community. Just hold on one sec. If you remember to state, Corey is a really nice guy, and we want to be really nice to him tonight and be as respectful as we can. So make sure that you say your name slowly so he can capture it for the minutes, as well as if you could state your address. And Nick, our trustee timekeeper, is going to give everyone 3 minutes. And if you please be respectful to everyone in the room. So if somebody's making a comment that you don't agree with, that's okay. You will want to be respectfully heard. So we're going to respectfully listen to everyone. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. I saw your hand first, sir. So name and address.
Thank you. Michael Luke, LOOP. I live at 4323 East Mount Vernon, which is not in this district, but I've been following this presentation. 2 questions. A lot of the people I talk to and a lot of the meetings I've been to, the trap and neuter they're very agreeable to, it's to release them back in their environment, because those people have health issues. My dog for one that can't be around cats. And my second part of that question is, what is a nuisance? That's a pretty broad term for what a cat can do to be deemed a nuisance.
I can't speak on the city's behalf, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. So what was the question? Do you want to?
What is a nuisance?
Yeah.
I mean, is it defecating in your yard, or is it tearing up your plants?
Yeah.
Is it attacking your children? I mean,
all of it.
And you know, that's gonna be a big,
pardon me?
I was just wondering if that would be a big cat. I've never heard of a cat.
They're feral cats, so they're not house cats.
So the ordinance states that any public nuisance, a public nuisance means any repeated acts of a cat or cats within a registered community cat colony that damages rights and privileges common to the public or enjoyment of the public and private property, or indirectly injures or threatens the safety of a member of the general public. So property damage or any kind of
So if
injury.
you file a complaint, they come out and they deem it a nuisance, and they're overruled and the cat's brought back, but even though it's been neutered and air tipped, it's still gonna be a nuisance, or it's still gonna be a health hazard, right?
Legal view it is. It was written to where if we can prove there's a nuisance, that we could take the cat. We try to give a level of due process because we don't feel like we can grab cats willy-nilly. So you would be notified your cat is a nuisance. You would be given an amount of time to resolve the nuisance. I think it's 30 days in the ordinance. And if you don't resolve the nuisance, you're going to take cat. And we'll probably we might attempt to rehome it. I've learned through these presentations that rehoming doesn't always work. Sometimes they come back. And eventually it would be euthanized if it's a cat that is damaging other people's property. That option's open.
Which is that's the current option as well. I'm just gonna take them as it's on, so start in the group.
Hi, my name is Steve Robinson. I'll be answer when I live at 9235 East Lake Point Drive. I'm glad the city's legal's here. I'm a lawyer too. And I've read these, and number one, the current policy of the city of Wichita, as expressed in the ordinances, defines an abandoned cat as a cat who has returned to its feral state. And the policy says, and the ordinance says, an abandoned cat is declared to be a nuisance and a menace to public health. That's what feral cats are right now. Now, this ordinance does not say they're going to change that. I don't know how those two ordinances work because the city has said they're a public nuisance and a menace to health, and I think they are. And look at the ordinance. There's a couple of things you need to look at. I think I know what they want in the ordinance. Number one, there's no limit on how many people can have feral cats. You can only have 8, but every person, every adult in Wichita can have 8 feral cats. There's no limit. There's also, you know that you mentioned the nuisance as a repeated act. One act does not make a nuisance. Right now it does. Right now, a cat or a dog can do something and be a nuisance. This ordinance requires you to have repeated acts. The other thing is, on paragraph C3, it says a community cat caregiver is a responsible party but not an owner of a cat and has no legal rights to feral cats. That's an attempt to say these people are not liable. If a feral cat injures someone, hurts an animal, these people aren't responsible. That's why they want the order. They want protection from legal liability. And frankly, if the city gives them exemption from liability, guess who gets sued? The city gets sued because they've exempted. I think this is an odd ordinance. I think it is done to protect these people. Maybe they deserve protection, but not from legal liability. So that's my thoughts. Thanks.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, ma'am, yes.
My name is Marilyn Overton. I'm with District 1. I'm president of the Matlock Heights Neighborhood Association. I live in an area where we have a lot of cats. I lived on a street that had 40 cats, feral cats, and there's a difference between feral cats and community cats. Feral cats, as you know, they have kittens after 3 months? How can you control that? How can the city control it? Right now, our city of Wichita, our animal control, they do not have enough people to monitor what they're doing. Although I know that you had mentioned, she knows who I am.
I really like her. She's so sweet, actually.
They have, the animal control do not have enough people to do this, to monitor them and everything. And you mentioned they're gonna have other people to come in to do it. But I want everyone to understand we have an infestation of cats. Those figures that she gave you, that's not how many cats is in Wichita. That's how many has been caught. Because we live in a lot of blighted areas. And these areas, these cats, they're coming out, they're going into these homes, just where you can't even see them. They're eating out of different trash cans, doing different things. I am allergic to cats. What's the nuisance? I got sick from cats coming around my house. I pay my taxes. I should not have to be bothered with cats. There should be a leash law, and there's no way you can have a leash law. Right now, cats are taking over because they're multiplying so fast. There's no way the city can do it. I don't want people to, if you live in an area where there's not there, but this, we're talking about the whole city of Wichita, and it is bad. I had 40 cats. It took me forever to get these cats out of my neighborhood. So those of you who don't have them, that's wonderful. And I don't dislike or hate animals. Now cats I don't like, I'm allergic to them. So my health is important. Because I had mentioned that I was to the point I was going to kill a cat. And you know what happened. They told me I was going to jail. But so when you mess with my health more than these cats, we've got to do something. I just had to say that. I know how you feel about it, but this is how I feel. And no matter what you do, until we find a way, when you have an infestation of cats, you need to do something.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am. Name and address?
My name is Tina Dean. I live at 200 East Douglas. I'm actually the president of the Topeka Community Catholics Group, but I work in Wichita, so I've recently relocated here. And our statistics are actually pretty similar to what she presented for Wichita, is that our group does TNR about the same number, 800 to 1,000 cats a year, and we're having the same result of reduction of cats who are being euthanized by the clinic in Topeka by the Helping Hands Humane Society. Data will show, I know you indicated that perhaps there wasn't time to read the data. Catch and kill doesn't work. If it did, you wouldn't have a cat infestation problem. When you kill cats, new cats come in. It's just, I mean, studies have shown that. And so the only long-term solution to fixing the problem of the cats, and we're not saying it's not a problem, but it's a problem that humans created. Most of these cats were dumped, had kittens, and they just keep having them because that's what they do. It's groups that, whether it's your animal control, and Topeka has an excellent relationship with animal control, we are called out to deal with nuisance cases, to assist them in dealing with the problems and reducing the cat population. But you can spend a lot of money euthanizing cats. It's not fixed your problem yet. So you have to try something different and trying to create a solution to get more resources, because 1,000 cats is great that you're able to do that, but still you have a lot of cats that need fixed. And so what they're trying to do is really the right solution to getting a handle. This is what major cities are doing all across the country. And so, you know, I think of Wichita as far more advanced maybe than Topeka, and I'm hoping that this council sees that as the goal.
Sir. Yes, name and address.
Richard Luke, 3907. Nature doesn't care why a cat dies. If it's through TNR or it's through anesthesia, it still opens up the spot at the food bowl. When people feed, it raises the carrying capacity of the environment. It creates an artificial environment. And so litters are larger. The cats will continue to come in. This Saturday, I went down to Keystone Apartments in my district. And I saw ear-tipped cats running around unsupervised, eating out of dumpsters. The story is that they were caught, neutered, returned. And talking with the residents, the person who was caring for them about 11 days ago moved. So they're returned to a person who really shouldn't have them to begin with, because their lease doesn't allow it. Okay, so they get around the state law, which has made abandonment of an animal a cruelty case. They get around it by giving it to these people, but these people are not even able to have them. And you wouldn't believe the cats around this place. I mean, they're all over the place, and it stinks. It smells heavily. They're living in the basements. I mean, this is not a nice apartment complex to begin with. There are little children running around. Their dogs, their pets, they're playing around. There were 7 cats running around out there with ear tips. So these were no caretakers were taking care of these. They were living on the land. So we have state laws that protect cats. This ordinance is not going to protect cats. If we have microchips in these cats that are tied to a colony, then we could address these problems. It gives a little more muscle to ensure that these people are in fact taking care of these cats. And if they're not, then we find who put them here to begin with, and we can go back on them and get that situation right there. There's way too much ambiguity. There's zero oversight in this. The data that they're going to give to the government at the end of the year is nothing but summary data. It's not of any real value. So they need to rethink this, and they need to open it up to the public and have competing ideas. John Stuart Mill on liberty. There are no total truths, but only partial truths. And through their collision, the greater truths are yielded. When people show up at these meetings and they're shouted down, they leave with their tail between their legs, no pun intended. That's not an open dialogue, okay? So the whole thing has been really unfortunate that this proposal lands here today and really does not do anything to protect feral cats, owned cats, or citizens. It's dangerous for Wichita to pass this proposal.
Yeah, Teresa Hurst, 11825 East Third Street North. Hopefully that doesn't mean my house will be trashed. So I'm on Wichita Animal Control Advisory Board. I've been there since the beginning. The the trap neuter release was a polarized group. The only person on the group that had a cat problem was told me pretty much out of the group. I'm here because I'm a veterinarian. So I signed an oath. The oath that I signed said that I was going to protect animal health and welfare for the benefit of society, to prevent and relieve animal suffering, and conservation of animal resources and promote public health. This does nothing to it. Peter Mark of the Smithsonian Conservative Biology Institute said cats are the top threat to U.S. wildlife for the extinct and are responsible for the extinction of 33 species of birds. In Australia, cats are such an invasive species that are just killing them with poison because they're killing off the wildlife and they're causing extinction of species. To the health, one rabies vaccine does not necessarily protect the cat for life. It needs to be boosted in the year. It needs to be monitored. In order to know which cat got a vaccine for it has to be microchipped. I can't tell one black cat from another black cat. And I'm being loud because I want everybody to hear. Okay, so I'm trying to be quiet. Health issues, it's not just rabies. These guys carry around worms in their species. They poop in the environment. It keeps playing in that. They rub their faces. They ingest that. It causes blindness. Talk to any of your optometrists. This is a big problem causing blindness in children. That's not reversible. They carry ringworm, toxoplasmosis, which can cause the abortion of a fetus. So if you're out there gardening and you forgot to wear your gloves and you're pregnant, you can lose your baby. Okay? Salmonellosis, Campylobacter, cat scratch disease, tularemia. Dr. Scare is actually treating a group of animals that have tularemia right now that's transmitted by the foods that these cats are carrying and they're not protected anymore. The other problem is these cats didn't know how to carry. I have seen cats from the Newton TNR groups that have sat there and suffered and died, and they suffered for months, and the people tried to catch them and tried to catch them and tried to catch them, and they couldn't catch them. And those cats suffer slow, miserable deaths, and they have FIV, and they have feline leukemia, and those are running rampant in those facilities. Okay, so it's not just about the animal. It doesn't benefit the person. One of the things that we wanted to discuss before we approved this was limiting numbers around so that there can't be every single person on the block has 8 cats. And that we try to keep those away from our facilities where we have wildlife, natural areas, where we have important resources for migrating birds to come through so that they don't get killed. And I probably said everything really super fast, but the big thing is TNR is not terrible, TNR is not horrible. But this law also allows you to take animals from one place and move them somewhere else. That is not TNR. TNR is returning. The goal of this is to reduce the euthanasias by just turning the cats back loose. Let's do that with the dogs too. Thank you.
Yes. Hi, my name is Esme Bañuelos. I am District 3. I totally get it. Those little butt-licking fur balls are a nuisance. I get it. I completely understand. The fact that you have these diseases going on and the fact that you want to like get rid of them, I understand. When I was a kid, I saw a cat outside. I was so excited that I just took it into my house, and then my mom said, no, we're not doing this. This is not happening. It's going outside. Fine. We compromised. I got to keep the cat. But something I didn't have as a kid and something my family didn't have is money. We didn't have the resources. I wanted this cat, and I got to keep it, but guess what? This cat had kittens, and it kept having kittens. And it got to a point, yeah, some of you guys might even hate me. I ended up with 16 cats. I didn't know what to do. I wasn't going to put him to sleep. I wasn't going to kill my cat. That was my baby. That was my life. That is something I grew up with, and I wasn't going to get rid of that. So I get it. But being with people like this, trap, neuter, and return, I got to keep some of those cats. Some of those cats ended up dying, natural causes. And even just recently, we ended up catching 4 of them, and one of them died because it turned out she had a disease, and I lost a cat. But they got to help me trap it. And if you guys want to see how we trap the cats, you're more than welcome to. I did make a YouTube channel, and on this YouTube channel, you can see Where's Esme, E-S-M-E, here, kitty kitty. And you actually see how we trap one single cat versus a multitude of cats. And it's safe, and nobody gets hurt. Because I know a lot of people, animal control, they want to go up there, they want to catch those cats. Good luck catching my cat. When somebody comes close by, they'll go crazy and be like, nope, not today, human. But then these people taught me that there are safe ways to catch all my cats, round them up, one and done, get them all neutered and fixed. And I was so grateful that people like this existed to help people like me, people who don't have the resources, and people even like my family who don't speak English, who wanted the help. And there's help and resources out there to help people like me. So I get it. Everyone's thinking like the birds. I understand. My cats brought dead birds to my front porch. My mother's like, get that thing off of me. And then what was I supposed to do? I'm like, sorry, I'll kind of get it rid. But over time, the population has decreased. I don't have 60 cats anymore. Some of them got ran over. Some of them ended up dying because they were sick. But it's nice because people like this help educate me to make it better. So that way, guess what? All of them are fixed. No more babies. And then over time, later on, then if I decide to get another one, I know that there's a place like this that can help me. And I even got to see and I had the opportunity to K-State students go in and fix them. They get learning opportunities. But thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, with the Wichita flag, sure.
Francine Diet. I'm actually District 6, 525 North Richmond. I moved in on my block almost 10 years ago. My neighbor was having kittens born under his shed. He did not have a cat, didn't like cats. Kittens. I was gathering them up on animal control. They were coming and getting mamas and kittens. I'm ashamed of that. Euthanizing these cats wasn't their fault. Then 3 more showed up. Friends of Felines. I found out about them. They helped me. We rounded up the next bunch that came in, had them TNR, and we do have good relationships with the cats. If they're fed every day, they come back to you. My colony does not leave my yard. They have shelter, they have food, they have veterinary care. You can retrap these cats and get them I get them their annual rabies shot, stimper shots. Not all colonies can be retrapped because they get smart. But most of us that have colonies, that care for colonies, we make sure that they are cared for. If something happens where I can't take care of my colony because I have to go out of town, I have somebody that steps in for me. And they make sure that my colony is fed. All I can say is colony caregivers are not cat hoarders. We do not like cat hoarders. We disapprove of cat hoarding. We don't want kittens. We don't want more cats. I've lost one of mine to old age now. I'm really happy he got to move on. He got a good life his last 4 years of his life. So all these cats are not cruel treated. We love them. And that's about all I can really say. But the number one cause of extinction of animals on this planet is humans. Every time. It's humans that start it.
Thank you very much. Yes.
My name is Ellen Corner. I also sit on the advisory board. I want to let you guys know that this ordinance passed by a 4-3 vote. 3 of the people that voted against this are here, okay? And the reason that it was not passed is that it did not go far enough. This is an incomplete ordinance. It does not protect the public. It does not protect private property rights. It does not protect wildlife. I hope you got the email that was sent to you that talked about the amendments or the addendums that should be added to this ordinance. I'm asking you all not to approve this ordinance. It needs to go back to be worked on. The second thing I'm going to ask you is, how many of you guys want to live next door to 8 cats? Okay, I won't even ask for a show of hands. Another thing I want to talk to you about is Stephanie talked really well about the dropping of the euthanasia as to an example as to why TNI works. She forgot to tell you that the last 3 years, the intake of cats stayed the same, 3,800 approximately. She said, yes, the euthanasia rate went down. It indicated, or at least it sounded like she was indicating, that TNR dropped that euthanasia rate. It didn't. It didn't drop the incoming animals either. What it did was a lot of rescues got together, and those animals that the Humane Society didn't want, they found homes for them. Many of them were not feral cats. Okay, so the fact that you think TNR has been decreasing the numbers of cats in the area is not right. The numbers of cats going into the shelter stayed the same. You cannot judge this program by the numbers of euthanasias that you have. The Topeka shelter, the lady that was here from Topeka, they dropped their euthanasia rate because they adopted a different type of an ordinance where they won't touch them. They don't allow them to be brought into their shelter. They won't go pick them up. They won't do anything about it. They leave it up to the neighbors to take care of. A nuisance ordinance is a level 3 complaint. They don't hardly get to levels 1 and 2. Level 3 is a very low complaint for them to go after, okay? So if you think they're really gonna come in and take care of it, they're not going to, okay? In many cases, I talk to people and I says, what are you gonna do? And I don't worry about it. You know why? I put antifreeze water out. Or I shoot it. And I don't want that to happen to the cats. So what I'm asking you to do is to take the advice of the veterinarian who says she's been working with them and not approve this flawed ordinance. It needs to be reworked. It needs to go back. I would like it to go back to legal and needs to put in some sort of protection for wildlife and protection for property owners. And it's important for us to do that.
Thank you for your comment. Who else still, who hasn't spoken yet? Yes, sir.
Daniel Householder, 7705 East Killarney Court, Wichita, Kansas. To some extent, I think the recommendation as of tonight goes at one part of the problem, but also, but at the same time does not look at another part of the problem. To me, the largest part of the problem is having free-range cats. And whether those free-range cats are fertile or not has little to do with the fact that they kill birds. And they also kill other wildlife. So I agree with what has been said tonight, that this proposal does not solve the overall problem. And I would hate to see the city council pass this resolution and think that everything is fine for the next 20 years. Because it won't, I think it's very unlikely that it would take care of the overall problems for the 20 years. It could go back to committee and be worked on to get additional work on it, or to work on other ordinances that can solve other problems. Thank you.
All right, so yes, ma'am.
Linda Rieger, sorry, 2328 North Rosemont Court, Wichita, 67228. I moved here from California and I was familiar with the problem when we had it in 2007 and they started putting in ordinances. Some of the things that I think I'm hearing almost like a deja vu are, this isn't gonna work, we can't do this, there are too many problems to it. You've got to start somewhere. And this is a great place to start. And there are now a number of states that actually have this as a state ordinance. It does work. And it works. She mentioned earlier how, you know, we've got the problem with all these intake cats. Well, we do, only because people will simply discard their pets. It's not just cats, birds, rabbits, dogs, whatever it is. So you've got to take that into consideration too. And a lot of the other states do mandate as well that when you get a pet, you must have it chipped. You are responsible for it. And there are repercussions for, you know, a cat showing up in a feral colony. Let's say that cat is abandoned and they end up in a feral colony and they end up pregnant. Well, first of all, you should have had your cat fixed when you got it. And that is mandatory in California, dogs and cats. There are no exceptions to the rule on that one. And I can tell you that's a hot issue. But these are all things that you need to look to the future. But you've got to start somewhere. And at least what they're doing over here is making an impact. So if you can't see the future, you'll never be able to get there. And I would suggest that you start looking at what is working in other states and not just, you know, panicking over, oh my God, my property, or this is going to happen too. And take it in more of a constructive step-by-step process manner and learn from what other states have already had to get through.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Partner.
I'm William Langley from 944 North Crestline. I'm a biologist. Got in here because the science is being neglected. There are 3 well-studied populations of TNR that found it not to work. It's been done in extensive areas over a long period of time. I think we have 2 issues here being argued tonight. One is euthanasia, and the other is control of the cat population, particularly the feral cat population. TNR cannot do that. And I kind of put some numbers together. I thought we had a proposal. I want you to remember Stephanie's numbers as we go through this. Cat populations have quadrupled since 1990. The home-owned cats, it's estimated there's between 148 and 188 million cats in the U.S. Using some proportions of how many people are in Kansas and how many people are in the country, 250,000 residents in Kansas, 350 million people in the U.S. That puts the number of cats in Wichita from somewhere between 105 and 134,000 cats, okay? We picked 105, let's take the lower estimate. Dr. Foley, a veterinarian, has estimated to control a cat population that 70% of the females have to be sterilized. Well, we put these little numbers to ours. We take a look at our 105,000 cats in Wichita. Let's say 10% are feral, roaming around. Half of them are female. And we have to neuterize 70% of those. Okay, when you do that, it turns out every year, remember what Stephanie told you, you have to euthanize or sterilize, excuse me, 3,675 female cats. Their number isn't anywhere close to that. If you put 8 cats that have been through the program and put in a colony, it would take 450 cat colonies in Wichita to take care of the females that were basically sterilized through that process. Well, you just can't track female cats. You're going to wind up with male cats as well. So that's about 900 colonies the first year, hopefully less thereafter. Those cat colonies are going to be in your neighborhood. You know, they're going to be there. And the problems with cats in colonies is they tend to have communicative diseases. Lawrence has reported 1 cat already tested positive for rabies. Brevard County in Florida has had an increase in their cat
Can you kind
colony.
of sum it up?
With
With
the-
those three things? You can summarize. Very good stuff.
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me, Linda Constable, 19.5%. I'm against the ordinance, but I want to comment on the survey that was done mentioned in this presentation. The implication was that that survey suggested that the community supported TNR. We want to point out that the survey doesn't even ask about TNR. So it does not, it didn't even purport to say we can support TNR. And that's the first thing. And the second thing is, it is a web-based survey. So a lot of people didn't even look at it. And it can't really be a fair representation of the opinion of the community. If I understand the facts correctly, it was posted on Facebook, on the city and the police department Facebook. Well, I don't know how many of you are monitoring that, but I didn't see it, and I'm actually on the advisory board. I'm the different section. Probably I'm typical. People didn't see it. And so I don't think you can imply that the community is in favor of TNR. I don't think they're informed, and I don't think you can imply that the community is in favor.
Thank you for your comment. Who has something new to say? Yes, sir, in the front.
Kent Barley, 728 Bearwood. I think the TNR ordinance you should not vote for. I believe in the trapping. I believe in the neutering. What I'd like to mention is that we are talking about feral cats, colony cats, or basically wild cats. We're not talking about people's pets. These cats can cause major damage. They can cause nuisance. They can cause your pets to be hit by vehicles. They can cause your pets inside to go through the windows trying to get them because they're out there on the front porch. Even cat people, their cats inside the house are having problems with the feral cats outside. We're not talking about pets. We're talking wild cats, just like wild deer and stuff. They limit the numbers. I think the ordinance needs to go back and be rewritten because the return does not work. We have 18 cats plus across the street. Maintenance estimates over 50 cats. These cats cause major destruction besides what has been mentioned. My neighbor next door is ready to move. He has $1,500 of estimate of repair to the front door and window where these cats sit on his porch. These cats have been on my front porch where I have to go out and clean because of the urination and smell. I have over $5,000 worth of damages right now to the properties in 4 houses. I've been to jail trying to protect myself from these feral cats. I'd like you to take and void this approval of this, mainly because they return them. There's no control. I cannot sue anybody. I cannot hold anybody liable for these. The kids across the street think that they're pets. They chase them. They get them cornered. They get them caught downstairs. These cats can turn on because they are wild. I'd like you to please not vote for the ordinance, and remember, these are wild cats, not somebody's pet, not somebody's loved fluffy, because I wouldn't mind having a cat for a pet, but wild cats are right up there with too many deer and too many coyotes to kill cattle. And there's nothing ever said when I go out to shoot a coyote for attacking the calves across the street. Thank you for the time.
Thank you for your comments. Who has something new to say? Yes, ma'am.
Mine's a personal situation, and
Your name and your
oh, I'm sorry, Mary Cole, 2525 North Somerset, Wichita. It's a personal situation. I'm down to my last feral cat. She's almost 14. I did send an email to everybody late this afternoon about my situation. I do need this ordinance regarding the member not seeing a need for the ordinance. My situation started in 2004, and I wasn't, I had no direction, and, the friendly cat or community cat got pregnant. Anyway, ultimately by 2007, I believe it was, I was probably caring for 12 feral cats. That's the most. And it's down for various reasons, down to my last one, who's almost 14. And 2 cats the neighbors moved away and they left them. They come to eat at my house, and my neighbor that died August 9th, 2010, her cat stays on my property now. She's a community cat. So there's my 1 feral plus the 2, the people that moved away left their cats that they could just come and eat and leave. So anyway, 6, 7 years ago, my neighbor got 2 pit bulls. His last dog, pit bull, lived to be 18 years old, was never fixed. He let him out the front door, and in the 2006, that dog was responsible for 3 litters of puppies. And when he got these 2 pit bulls 6, 7 years ago, they jumped the fence, terrorized the cats, and I went and banged on his door, and I said, if you're going to have pit bulls, you need to have the fence to keep them in. Well, he got mad at me, and so anyway, he has them on chains. The female that's no longer there had 6 puppies several years ago. The ordinance for pit bulls, you're supposed to be spayed, neutered, chipped, as I understand it, registered with the police department, of course, the rabies shot. These tethers or chains that are less, he has a new pit bull that's not a full grown. These tethers or chains are less than 10 feet long. Most often with no water available for them. I cannot report my neighbor because he can report animal control can come track my cats. I mean, I say they're like,
To summarize.
huh?
Your time, can you summarize?
Okay, I need this ordinance to protect me. I've been living with this next door for 6 to 7 years, and I can't do anything about it because he can turn whining, and they're my family, and it would kill me. So, but I sent an email to all of you if you haven't had a chance to read it.
Thank you for your comments. How about you? Yes. If you have anything new to share, that would be great. Thank you.
My name is Cindy Cameron. I live down the block here on 1048 Patricia Street. I just want to start out saying I love cats. I've had cats before, but my issue with these feral cats is putting them back. They're releasing them. Right now, I've got an issue with they come up. They're always in my yard. They tend to like my flower beds or litter boxes, and I can't even go out in my front yard. Can't go out my front door without it smelling so bad that it's just disgusting. I can't even go out the front door. I have chihuahuas in the backyard. I have a dog door, and I have a problem with the cats. They'll kill birds, and I find these dead birds out in my backyard, and I don't want my dogs getting these birds. And I've never had fleas in my backyard before until the last 2 years. So these cats are bringing these fleas into my yard. And it's just not right that I take care of my dogs and they're being, these cats are putting them in jeopardy. So it's just an issue for me. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. Yes, yes, go on.
Hillary Clark, 4141 South Seneca Street. I'd like to address some misconceptions that have been presented today. For example, the idea that TNR doesn't work. There have been studies done in Texas, Florida, Rome, and Italy, North Carolina, South Africa, Washington, D.C., Massachusetts, California, New Jersey, and Chicago. There have been case studies in all these places that have shown that TNR is effective at reducing colony size. I also want to address the comment, the idea that seems to be being presented that this is going to create colonies and bring cats places that have not already been. The cats are already there. What we're trying to do is reduce the population of cats for the future, safely and efficiently. This is not bringing cats anywhere that they don't already exist. They're already there. And in general, just to speak to the concerns about feral cats being a nuisance, a public health concern, getting in the way, making a mess.
No one is saying that feral cats do not pose problems. We all want to reduce the population of feral cats. That's what we're all trying, it sounds like we're all on the same page here, right? We don't want there to be as many as there are currently today. However, that being said, if you approve of trap and neuter, but not the return, what do you want to do instead? What is your alternative? We need an alternative if you're going to say that TNR doesn't work. Catch and kill isn't effective. That's what we've been doing. We've been euthanizing the cats, and that's how we've gotten the problem we have today. Catch and kill doesn't work, so what would you like to do instead? TNR is the only humane and effective way of reducing the population of feral cats. And the last point, just as an ethical, we created this problem by not staying and neutering our cats. We should have made the cats pay for it.
Thank you for your comments. Christine Ledden, 5401 Stoneboro Street, which is down south. When I first moved to Wichita from Los Angeles in 1981, and in 1993, we built our house down there in the old Robbins Farm area. We had dozens of cats, cats everywhere. Today, we have a colony of 6 because one person stepped up to the plate and said, okay, I'm going to take care of these cats. This person trapped them. She had them vaccinated. She kept an eye on them. Because unfortunately, there is a law of nature called attrition, and you trap, neuter, and release your cat, and the coyotes will get it, or the cars will get it. And sooner or later, the numbers are going to reduce unless you go ahead and vaccinate and neuter these animals. Otherwise, life will find a way. It's the Jurassic Park corollary. I want to express my appreciation and my respect to everyone who made comments this evening. I actually am an advocate in Dole, Hawaii, because I'm a monk seal advocate. And one of the largest problems we have with monk seal reclamation is toxoplasmosis. And of course, the feral cat population in Hawaii is also very large. So they're dealing with the same issues we are here. A lot of good concerns. It is a good, solid foundation. It's the foundation that the county of Hawaii is looking at. California is looking at, Texas is looking at. Let's take that leap of faith, ladies and gentlemen, and say, okay, let's start now. Let's take this step. If it doesn't work, we'll move it forward and try something a little different, but do something, because I'm sorry, New Zealand throwing poison sausages out to kill their feral cats. You think cats kill wild animals? Wait till you see what those sausages are going to do to the wildlife in New Zealand.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, Ms. Maynard.
My name is Maria Acosta, 1913 East Wausau. I became involved with Friends of Felines about a year and a half ago. We moved into a neighborhood where a litter of kittens was born under our front window, and that consisted of about 3 or 4. And then this last summer, one of the mamas from the previous summer had 2 babies under our front window. And I now have one of those babies in my home due to him suffering an injury. At that time, when I called Friends of Felines, they came and they took 10 cats out of my neighborhood and TNR'd them and brought them back. A year later, that number stands. There are 2 new cats in the neighborhood. One is the second baby born last summer, and the other one just magically appeared one day. I'm assuming he was dumped by some neighbors of ours that moved 3 houses down. I'm on a mission to get both of those boys fixed as soon as possible. But in the last year, I have seen a turnaround. Talking about mean, attacking, hateful, wild cats, no. My cats are no longer that way. They don't fight, they don't spray, they don't mount each other to reproduce, they love on each other, they eat at a community plate, they all get along. Things have changed drastically. I never once had any of those cats attack me. In fact, I had one that goes in and out of my house and goes in and out of my neighbor's house like he owns the place. I've got 2 that you couldn't get within 15 feet of a year ago. Now they follow my neighbor around when he's out in his yard working. Due to the fact that they are no longer hormone driven in their life, all they are now are cats. They eat, they sleep, and that's all they do. In the 2 years I lived in that neighborhood, I had one dead bird brought to me. And I can't tell you how many mice I have brought to me, but that's okay, I don't want mice back. But one bird in 2 years, figure if that bird can't fly fast enough, that's not my problem. And one last thing, if this was a mess of dogs we were talking about, would we be having the same discussion we're having now? Cats are not disposable, people. They're living, breathing creatures. I've had cats my entire life. This group, I didn't go looking for this group of cats. They found me, and I chose to take care of them. As have all of these women in this room, people in this room, excuse me. They're our babies. They're an extension of our family. And you have to understand that. They're not disposable. They have heartbeats.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Anybody, one last time, that was something new? All right, so.
Eric Miller, 92 Colter. Couple things that strike me is all these issues that everyone's talking about are today's issues. Okay, so if we want more of the same, we don't do anything. All the issues that I've heard, that's what's happening today. All the cats in the apartment complexes and the neighborhoods, that's today. So without doing anything, we're gonna have more of the same, all right? One thing that I've learned as an engineer is data leads to solutions. The only way we're gonna get data on this problem is to legitimize the effort and then use that data to drive you to a better solution. Okay, this may not be the perfect solution, but it's a step in a direction where we will gather data and we will be able to analyze that data and we will be able to determine whether we're moving in the right direction, whether it's wildlife, whether it's number of cats, whether it's number of euthanized, it doesn't matter. You have to have the data or you're not going to get to the solution. All right, so I think we need to do something different, put some data gathering into whatever we decide so that we can start analyzing and get a better solution for tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Okay, George has spoken, so if that's okay, we will. Anybody else have anything new to say? Yes, sir.
My name is Michael Nolan. I live 2201 East MacArthur, and I've been attending these meetings since August or September when I first read about it. And I think the ordinance that we have in front of us is exactly the ordinance that you get when you don't listen to both sides of the issue, when you don't have a conversation in the community and you don't try to come with a solution. I believe that what we have in front of us is because we have a small group, a very small group of people who managed to take over one of the city's committees, and all of these issues that were brought up tonight were brought up a long, long time ago by myself and other people at these meetings, and no one was interested in any of them. All they wanted to do was pass the ordinance before Christmas so they can get it to the next step. And I think the responsible thing that this committee should do is kick it back to the committee and say that they did not provide a product that this committee can look at and give any sort of recommendation on, because the work has not been done. Even though everyone involved knows that the work was there to do a long time ago. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. In the very back, yes.
I'm Cindy Kuykendall, and I live at 3700 South Tyler Road in District 4. But we use the line for Sedgwick County in Wichita. It goes down the middle of the road. So for a long time, I think it's been kind of a dumping spot for animals and stuff in our area. But in 2006, we had one cat that was a friendly and came into our yard, and we thought it was great, and then had kittens, and we thought it belonged to somebody. And then like 4 litters later, we figured this doesn't belong to anybody. And so we hooked up with Friends of Felines, and they came out and helped us trap all of them. And probably I've had like almost 20 cats fixed over the years, just from these 4 litters. And we're down now to just the oldest cat and then the 2 from the last litter. But every cat that comes through the yard, he gets his picture taken, and I walk the neighborhood and I find out if he belongs to somebody. And if he doesn't, then I get him fixed. And so in our neighborhood, we've got a lot of animal lovers, dogs and cats, but nobody even knows for all these years that we even have cats, because they stay in our own yard, lay on the fence, and they're well taken care of. And for us, TNR has really worked. And as far as the bird thing, you know, with them hurting birds, our cats seem to be more focused on mice. And I've run out into the yard at night, flailing my arms into the air at owls because I feel like they're trying to come and get my cats. You know, so I'm more worried about them coming after the cats. And I mean, that's just what I want to say. It's worked for us, and I feel that that's the practice. And I feel like Australia should be ashamed of itself for letting there be millions of cats there when they could have done the same thing years ago instead of just killing millions of them. And they're wondering why we still have 2 million we want to still kill. If they had started TNR back then, they would not have this problem. So,
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. There's no more hand. Okay, Stephanie, please do.
So I actually live in District 2, so you guys are my advisory board. I want to be very clear about a couple of things. I don't own a cat. I've never owned a cat. I don't have a colony in my backyard. I'm actually deathly allergic to cats. That's why we bond so well. But what I do know is what's happening now isn't helping the problem. And I don't want to see more euthanasia of any cats or any dogs or of turtles or chickens or whatever. But we've been doing this for 30, 50 years. It's not helping the problem. We have to start somewhere. It's not perfect. We are very much aware of that. There are many board members here today have told you that. But we're not going to get the opportunity to improve it without you and without your guidance. So what we ask you today is to give us guidance, give us feedback. Let us take that forward. Because we need the city council to make some determinations on where they want to go and what their constituents say. That's why we're here today. So I appreciate you all letting me come here today and speak with you. This is not an easy answer. This is not a fix-all. Unfortunately, what we've done before is just a Band-Aid. I'm ready to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone who came today. We appreciate it. And thank you for being so respectful of the time boundaries. We're going to bring it back to the board. So certainly can entertain a motion if anybody has any questions or further discussion. So what you're being asked to do tonight is to provide guidance if you were to approve the ordinance.
As it's stated.
As it is written. What you see is what you get.
I'd like to just say I appreciate everybody being here as well, and we put a lot of different things. And again, our job is to go with this based upon the way that it is written. Even the one concern that the one gentleman brought up, which is the C3, I think it is, that one by itself keeps me from actually approving this to go forward, because it does take away the responsibility of calling owner, as it is a currently there is no way to enforce a lot of this and things, so basically that my recommendation would be motion to not approve the ordinance.
Okay, so we have a motion to not approve the ordinance or deny the ordinance. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? So we're going to call the vote, and the vote is to not pass the ordinance. So if you vote yay, you vote yes, that means you don't want the ordinance. Does that make, I just want to make sure everybody understands, because when you do something in the negative, sometimes it can be confusing. Tracy?
So Stephanie asked that we could give informed, so I appreciate Janetta for bringing out C3, but before we vote on this, will we get a chance to inform the areas that we were concerned about in the ordinance?
So you could pass a motion that says you do not approve the ordinance with or, you know what I mean? You could say that you want certain modifications. Or I guess if that gets really complicated and there's quite a few, you can just add them to the minutes.
I can just document them in the minutes.
Document them in the minutes. So how would it sound to either, vote that you do not want to pass it, or, if you say if you vote no, that means you hope that the ordinance would be passed. And if we don't have a majority, but then we can take your additional comments and make sure they're included in the minutes to be forwarded on. Would that be good? Okay. So we have a motion and a second to not approve the ordinance. Any other questions or discussion?
I just have, for clarification, I'm just making sure. So with the motion it is right now, so that if we don't approve it, but it goes back, or do we have to, by saying no, so it's just.
The next step is it goes to sit to it'll go to the council, correct?
It could, it's an advisory at this point, so they could take it back and decide to work on it before they take it to council, or they could just take it to council. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't have that on the agenda. And we've already workshopped it, so we know it's not going to workshop. Okay,
Correct.
so
Ours is really not binding, we're just
just
advisory.
advisory, absolutely. So motion, second, and further discussion. All those in favor of not approving the ordinance, and just seeing it, so it's clear, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And one abstention. Thank you very much. Corey, do you have for the
Yeah, so 711.
711?
Jackie, can you add her amendment?
So that's what I was gonna ask. So we can do this two different ways. Corey, do you want to just to kind of call out some concerns that you can add to the minutes? Is that what your preference would be?
Mhm.
So Tracy, if you have any concerns, do you want to mention them and make sure it's included in the minutes, they get forwarded on?
My concern is that ordinances are enforceable by law. And what makes me very squeamish about signing this is that we're basing our enforcement on volunteers, which I don't think that that's a good practice going forward in municipalities. If you have someone that is specifically dedicated to this and trained, then you can enforce it. But then putting an ordinance on the books based on the ability of volunteers, to me, it's just not a good practice.
Any other comments you included?
I'm just saying my, all too brief survey literature on this. I saw too much anecdotal information and not enough data. And I think it's important that we do data-driven decisions. What you people do is wonderful. Obviously, the others let nature take its course, and that I don't think would be successful either. But I do think that we need to collect data, measure what we do, and so we can go forward. My hesitation, secondly, on this is just the political process. If this were passed as it is, I am afraid there would be fine, we've done this, move to the next item on the agenda. We don't do a good job of revisiting and doing long-term studies and decisions. And this looks like a prime example of something that we should
do.
The paragraph that states that they can have up to 8 cats, the point that, but within the neighborhood, there may be 4 people that each have 8 cats. That concerns me. That you might be the person that's neutral on cats, or and you got 4 neighbors around you that got 32 cats. So then it's fine.
Awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate the data part of it from the audience and from the board here. But the data to be relevant for an officer needs to be compiled by animal control. And when it's by a special interest group, it's difficult to go by that, because a lot of it is anecdotal, it's data that's to their advantage and not the complete data, so it needs to be compiled. And we have animal control people who So that if this comes back again, I would respect the data from a neutral source.
Becky, just so you know, the data that I gave you tonight with the euthanasia numbers is directly from the Wichita Animal Services Lieutenant segment.
And most of it's encouraging numbers.
I do want to say that I don't think that the conversation on whether it worked or not is really relevant to us passing the ordinance.
I agree, I agree.
Thank
The other thing is you guys are doing great work.
Yeah.
But
we're doing something that the city's not.
And can I say something? 4 members of the Wichita Animal, at least 4, if not 5 members of the Wichita Animal Control Advisory Board are here. We really appreciate you guys staying late and giving us the information, because we've done this ourselves as well. And we also appreciate the input, because input from the city of Wichita is what we need. Thank you.
That's why we're here.
All right, so before we can end, we need a motion to adjourn. So moved to second. Let's have some discussion. All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed say bye. Thank you. Thank you. Good job, team.